It's time for another crown jewel race in NORA this season, also adding to the 5 tournament with 5 drivers racing for a bonus $50. Who wins the 5 and who wins the race? Oh, and who makes the chase? Plenty of questions to be answered tonight at the Brickyard. Welcome to Pit Stop TV and the virtual Speedway Indiana. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Murtis alongside, and boy, here we are, race 21. It is a pleasure to be with you for coverage of the NORA Brickyard 300. Today's coverage is brought to you by Harpoon Designs, by NORA, and by Whiplash Creative. And Zach, as we get ready to open up this NORA pre-race show, it's going to be quick. We have got a bit of a late field, just over 20 cars checking in so far to Indianapolis this evening, and we are not only at Indianapolis, we're at the old Indianapolis, the 2009 scan of this NASCAR oval. And of course, there wasn't much of a difference between the open wheel and NASCAR oval, but gotta be sure, we are on the NASCAR oval tonight.
That we are, and Indianapolis is one of the tracks that I personally love coming to because, well, it may not necessarily be everybody's favorite track, and it produces maybe not the most lackluster racing in the world unless you're watching the Indy 500. It's all in all a really great NASCAR track. It produces single file racing, but it's a very technical track. So you're not necessarily racing everybody else, you're more so racing the car, the track, finding grip wherever you can. It's one of these tracks that you really gotta hunker down and figure out.
We've seen these guys do exactly that over the course of the upcoming 120 laps here this evening. It's going to be a long one. Let's take a look at point standings here quickly before we get into the show. Dalton Tucker, Hunter Sr., all these guys there at the top, they are kind of controlling this race to the chase, but things are about to get interesting as we are about to get to with our interviews and gas and go and everything else tonight. Brady Moat suspended from this race and missing the next couple. He was going to still be in the race for the chase, but maybe still lose some points. That suspension after last week's race at Pocono applied to this week's race here at Indianapolis. That kind of just takes him out of the chase race entirely. So really now it's a matter of whether or not Kyle Tubb can get in there, and really if Donald Kite or Jake Christenberry can do anything about it. And frankly, Zach, I just don't know that either one of them are really primed to do so. We'll be talking about it all night long in the next handful of weeks, but it's definitely looking like we have our 10 to fight for a championship here in 2026. And with that said, we can get into our first interview, Zach, and if you can actually see if we can get a hold of Cody Henderson. He did ask us to let him know about an interview coming up, but we can go ahead and tell you what, while we wait on him, let's take a look here at the schedule. We actually did update this graphic. I can tell because I forgot to take one layer out of it, but regardless, I've updated some lap counts here to show that Montreal is 52 laps and the Indianapolis is 120 now. All season long, we displayed it as 96. It's a slightly longer race. That's going to be interesting for these guys this evening. Just a little bit longer, but it's the same length actually as we saw at Pocono last week. So it's really not that different. What is different is actually the fuel range for these cars. They're not doing the 77% limit that they had last week at Pocono. It's up to 100% tonight since it is technically a crown jewel race by league definition. That said, Cody Anderson, we told you we'd come to you first this evening. Here we are, the number 33 on the pit lane. No laps yet in practice, but I'm so curious, what brings you into all of these races? You're not running necessarily for driver's points this season, just for owner's points, and yet you're still one of the most competitive kind of midfield cars. I would love to know where you would be as far as the chase conversation if you were here all season long.
Yeah, well, plan was to run full time, but then going into February, my wife and I had a 4-month-old at the time, so I didn't really want to commit to something that I may have to pull out eventually. So, but the plan was to run as much as I can. I've only missed a couple of them, so I think if I hadn't missed those two, I think I'd be right there in the top 10. So, kind of have a goal, a moral goal per se, to get this car maybe in the top 10 on the owner side in the chase and see what we can do.
Even with missing 2 races, we've seen just how far down that can take you in the points. You know, what's the game plan going into tonight, realistically? There are a lot of guys that are looking to solidify their championship runs going into tonight, and there are a few that are working towards getting their championship hopes locked in. Do you think that you may play a little spoiler, upset some points, maybe try to find a way to sneak through for one of these?
Yeah, I mean, playing spoiler is always kind of fun, but at the same time, I'm not trying to screw up anybody's driver's side championship hopes. So, I mean, I like to race hard, kind of race smart. I didn't really race too smart with Chase Durheim last week. I probably should have let him go at one point, and it ended up costing me a few positions. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to try to sneak out a win at some point this year. It's going to be hard to beat Dalton because he seems to be a contender every week. Though actually the one to beat every week. So if we can get lucky here one week and get a win, that'd be awesome. But tonight, if we can get away from a top 5, I think that's a win in itself.
And tonight you're also going for that 5 tournament. That's an extra $50 if you can go ahead and grab that this evening. Has there been any extra focus on this racetrack in particular, knowing since Talladega that you'd be qualified in, or is it kind of just the same status quo like every other race?
Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot. So I saw it today when Josh posted in the Discord. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool bonus. So I mean, each week I try to do some laps before the race actually happens and get acclimated to the track. I've ran a lot of these tracks, but I've only been on iRacing for a little over a year now. So I try to get as much practice in before each week, so that way I'm not cold going into it. So yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. Got a good starting spot. Finally qualified decent for the first time in a long time. So try to capitalize on it and have a good run.
Well, Cody, good to talk to you. Best of luck this evening. The stats are pretty solid. 18 starts, no wins yet, but 7 top 10s. Nearly half the races you run, you're in the top 10, and a handful of laps led. And I actually looked at incidents per race. You are 20th lowest, which I know that might still sound like you're kind of high up there as far as a lot of incidents, but you're really not. A 4.22 incident per race, and there's like 30 or 40 guys behind you. So, Cody, best of luck. Hopefully we'll talk to you later on.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for everything you do.
Absolutely. Cody Anderson this evening in the number 33, and we'll go straight on to the second driver that we'll be talking to this evening. That is Brock Morris. And we haven't really gotten to this yet, Zach, and we'll get to it in Gas and Go here shortly, but this guy is the fill-in for Brady Motes, who's not racing this evening. He's suspended from this race and will miss the next couple, and that brings us to driver number 8 tonight, Brock Morris. And Brock, we've heard a little bit about you. Your reputation precedes yourself in terms of Hunter Sr. and such, and we kind of have an expectation already to see you in the mix, but let's be real. Let's get down to it. You're subbing in, of course, this week for suspended Brady Motes. For the next couple of weeks for Brady Motes that's on baby duty. What is the game plan for you, and how long do you anticipate being in this race car?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just going to be learning my way around this league. You know, every new group of people, you got to learn everybody, how things go around here. So yeah, hoping to put myself in a couple good spots towards the end of these races, but just hoping to bring it home and yeah, have some clean races here.
Touching again on the note of Brady's suspension, I'm assuming we expect you to be in this car for the next couple of weeks as well, not just a one-off event tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably be here for the next 3 or 4 weeks from the sounds of it. So yeah, really looking forward to, we got Watkins Glen coming up, so that will be a fun one for me. And yeah, just really appreciate the opportunity to be able to make a couple starts in here.
And when we get to other racetracks, I know tonight's going to be maybe a little bit of a wash since you're getting used to this field and whatnot, but I mean, it is pretty much, it's the same old iRacing, right? You still run throughout the week in other leagues. You're still warmed up in that regard, but, you know, let's scratch tonight. Whatever happens tonight is whatever. You're getting used to the field, used to the cars. I don't know your experience level in these cars anyways, but as we go forward, Watkins Glen next week, I think Michigan after that, Bristol's coming up soon. You know, what's the expectation for you if you are in this car long term? I mean, top 5s, top 10s? Do you expect to be maybe winning a race or two? We've heard a lot about you from Hunter Sr. and that you were going to be in the 04 car until this happened.
Yeah, I don't really know where to expect any finishes. I like to hope I could get a top 5 next week at Watkins Glen, but yeah, I hope to get a top 10 every week. I think that would be a decent goal. But yeah, like I said, I just not really sure where the field is at. But I hope all the things Hunter was saying are pretty good. So hope not to disappoint.
Nothing bad, nothing bad. And I'll expand on that question, I guess. You know, we're about to, in Gas and Go, that we'll get to in a second, talk about the big gap between Dalton Tucker winning all these races at DEI and now 3 winless cars still versus the 6 wins that he has in points races this season, 7 if you count the All-Star race. Is there maybe a little bit of a push from Brady to try and finally get one in the win column for somebody other than Dalton Tucker on that team?
Not that I've heard so far. This was all kind of put together pretty recently, so this is all brand new to me. So in terms of the team dynamic and everything, yeah, I'm learning that all as I go. So hoping to add one to the wins column for him, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the expectations will be.
Well, Brock, we're going to learn a whole lot about you here shortly with the green flag on the way. Best of luck. Hopefully we're talking to you later on.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Good to talk to you. Brock Morris, the number 8, filling in for Brady Moats for the next handful of weeks. It's an indefinite term placed on this substitution in the number 8 car. And this is not something Brady is going to take lightly. The fact that he's already driving such an iconic car and that he's already been suspended here tonight and then baby duty the next couple of weeks, you know, he's going to be itching to get back in the car. But at the same time, Zach, it's an opportunity for Brady to focus on family time. I believe they have their C-section scheduled, but that's never a guarantee, as I learned 3.5 years ago. So anything can happen. We don't know exactly when to expect Brady back in the car. This could go all the way to Miami later in the season, for all we know. But it's going to be interesting to kind of sit back, watch, and find out exactly what's going on with the number 8. And with that said, Zach, I mentioned, I've alluded to it already, our Gas and Go segments. Let's go ahead and get into it this evening. I'm excited, actually, for this. First up on the board for us, Zach, talking right about this number 8 car and Brady Moats being suspended, Morris filling in. Obviously, it's not ideal for Brady to have to turn the car over to somebody he doesn't really know a whole lot about. I know you were even tossing the conversation of driving this 8 car for a little bit, but how do we feel about it? Kind of a spot-on, spot-off opportunity on this one.
I think Morris is going to do well. Brady even said he expects Brock Morris to do a lot better than he would in that 8 car. But with these next couple of tracks coming up, he's going to be really tested on his versatility, his skill, and just overall racecraft.
It's definitely going to be a test of Brock Morris and even Brady as kind of a team supporter, kind of see how this goes and where the ship is steered the next couple of weeks. On to the next one, and this plays right into it, Zach, and exactly what I asked Brock about. We have seen now 6 wins for Dalton Tucker. Not a single one for any of the other DEI cars. When is that going to change?
Lord only knows. It's been the Dalton Tucker show just about all season long for DEI. I've been carrying the team in terms of owner points and leading the championship fight right now. So, honestly, I think the teammates just need to pick it up a little bit. Find where they're slacking and get back to it a little bit. Obviously harder for Brady right now, but Housen's still out there ready to rip.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can do. At one point, I thought Kevin Baumler was going to be the next guy to win. Then I thought it might be Brady Moats. Then it looked like maybe it was going to be Ryan Housden. Now I really don't know. That camp is I hate to say fractured, but fractured I think sounds like the best word to use. And straight into schedule conversations. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, Zach. There have been proposals dropped off at team owners' desks for 2027. I don't know if you've seen them. There have been a handful moving around. I mean, what is the expectation, I guess, for you? Have you heard anything from anybody?
I haven't heard much of anything so far, but I think the expectations rolling into next year are high. The only thing that I've heard is that there's a lot of chatter about different tracks that are going to end up being run.
We'll have to wait and see, as there's a lot going on with the schedule conversations for next year. And then here we go, Zach. We're headed to some short tracks very, very soon. I know you love short tracks. I love short tracks. It could be an opportunity to settle scores. Who knows?
You never truly know. With the short tracks coming up, especially Bristol, it's going to be a cage fight. I think Richmond, they'll get a lot more spaced out. They'll have some fun, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see how these guys really tackle these short tracks coming up, and well, who's going to rise to the cream of the crop. One of those being Anderson. We've seen him compete well on those short tracks. Who knows?
A reminder, by the way, to those of you watching, get your fantasy picks in now. Time is running out. We'll give you till 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And then Zach Hunter Sr., is he on the move for 2027? There's been some conversation in the league Discord lately. Could he move around to a different car? He just wants a number 4 or 14. That's what he said.
He's one of the ones I wouldn't really be expecting to move. I was not expecting to see Hunter Sr. Moving around and him being in the silly season conversation, but I don't know, Andrew. It's a hard call. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
We'll have to wait and see. He is 10th on the speed charts this evening, racing for the 5 tournament here tonight, as all the drivers with the yellow to orange gradient and the blue number there, those are the drivers going for that bonus. Let's talk about that briefly, Zach. Of course, $50 up for grabs this evening. Not the extra 50 that you put up last time, but $50 nonetheless. And here it is. There you see the 5 brought to you by Sparks Builders. 5 drivers qualified in at Charlotte. That was months ago at this point. The 3, the 4, the 21, the 24, and the 33. So those are Dalton Tucker, Hunter Sr., Donald Kite, Vincent Arthur, and Cody Anderson. Arthur is in the race. We had some concerns that he might not make it tonight, but it looks like he's here. And of course, the top 5 from tonight will also qualify into the next 5 at Bristol. So it doesn't have to be one of these 5, right? The top 5 tonight qualifies in for the next round of this tournament at Bristol in August. But whoever of those 5 drivers finishes the highest, they get themselves $50 tonight, 50 extra if they win. And with Dalton Tucker in the conversation and Vincent Arthur, that is very possible.
That it is. I know Hunter Sr. is probably going to put up a good fight. Thankfully, my $50 is not on the line for this race, but there are some notable drivers that are ready to rip for that $50 that is up for grabs, and, well, we've got a long race to figure out who it's going to be.
That is for sure. It's going to be a fun one here this evening at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cars are headed to the grid. We'll take just a moment here before we actually get to showing the grid. Fantasy and power rankings. I mentioned fantasy will give you until about 8:05 Eastern. You've got a little bit more time to make your picks, but it is time. You've got to get into the Discord server, make your picks as soon as possible. You don't have a whole lot of time left. Get those picks in. Let us know who you're pulling for tonight if you are making a pick here, as Brian Jones will start from the front row. We'll take a look at the full grid here in a moment. There you see them gridding up, though, on the front straightaway. And Zach, a quick look at the fantasy standings coming into tonight. Things have been moving around quite a bit. You are squarely, though, back in the top 10 now, kind of moving your way back up. I moved up a couple of spots. I swapped with Brady Motes last week. I think he missed the picks, but he's back in it this week, and just a whole lot shaking around there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be desired with my current standpoint in the fantasy points, but hey, we're making moves. We're getting back into the swing of things. There will be a chase, so I'm not too particularly worried about my current standpoint. I do have the most playoff points out of anybody. No. I have the 3rd most playoff points. Yeah, no, we're good. We're going to be fine.
We'll take a look at this, of course, every week as we get closer and closer to the chase, which will reset and put 10 of us in a basically tournament for the Fantasy Championship here in 2026. And Zach, that then brings us to power rankings. As these guys get ready to roll off tonight, Dalton Tucker, he's on pole. He's also on top of the power rankings. Vincent Arthur, man, he's been recovering, it feels like, ever since San Diego for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, as Tucker is off of the grid here at the start. Maybe. I don't know what's going on for the 3 car. That might bump the 48 up. Issues maybe for Dalton Tucker here, just trying to get to the green flag. I also don't see Kyle Rochelle, Caden Henry Oaks, or Caden Perkins on the actual racetrack here. But there you see Jacob Malone, by the way, up 7 spots. I mean, maybe it should be 6. I don't know. Regardless, it's up a pretty preposterous number. He gained a whole bunch of positions last week at Pocono, and boy, he's right back up there. And Brian Housen. I will say the metric, the algorithm was tweaked a little bit after last week, so that's why you see some very drastic changes. It should be a little more calm going into Watkins Glen next week, depending on how this race goes.
I would assume it would be a little bit more accurate to figure out who is supposed to be where.
That's the goal. This is trying to give a little more, like, benefit, I guess, to wins and top fives and whatnot, and also recency versus just the whole season. It's a work in progress. It always is. We'll keep fine-tuning this algorithm as time goes on, but some big advancements for sure in that category. And I think it's a whole lot more representative of who's been good lately. It really has been the 3, the 24, and the 18, with a few other stragglers in there for good measure. And Brian Jones, honestly, maybe should be higher, but let's see. He's starting up front tonight. You never know, Zach. And that brings us then to the starting grid. And you already see them rolling around the racetrack, but on pole this evening, we can take a look at who would have been there, I guess should have been there, Dalton Tucker. He is rolling back up to the field, but has gone to the rear of the field. So the 3 car will start from the back end. Brian Jones will start from the outside of the front row. That effectively puts Josh Conover on pole. Brian Housden from 4th, though, and a little farther back, Calvin Baumler, Cody Anderson, Jacob Malone, Nick Geilis, and even behind him, you'll find Ronnie Norman and Kyle Rochelle.
Rolling back behind them in the 11th and 12th spot, you'll find Jacob Gladulich and Isaiah Watrous in that row number 6. Row number 7, behind them in the 13th and 14th position, you'll find Caden Henry Oaks and Hunter Sr., the 5 and the 4, rounding out row number 7. Jake Christenberry and Nick Hom will take up 15th and 16th spot with 17th and 18th on the starting grid. Right behind them, you'll find Matthew George and Vincent Arthur, 2 Hendrick Motorsports drivers looking for a bit of a better run. And then right behind them, Kyle Tubb and then Brock Morris, the super sub for Brady Motes.
Back in 21st this evening, it's Donald Kite alongside John Skavnicki. Kite is a driver to watch for the chase the next few weeks. It'll be a lot of fun to see how he does. And then back in row 12, Caden Perkins in the 84, and then Wayne Sparks. And this is an interesting case. He is listed on the ticker. We'll try to fix that here shortly. Listed on the ticker in the 5. Then listed here on the grid as the number 17. But in reality, Zach, he is driving the number... Let me find him again here. Right here. He is in the number 43 this evening. There's Wayne Sparks. So it's a very interesting situation right now for Wayne, but he is starting just ahead there of Ross Leinbach in the number 59. We have 25 drivers signed in. There's a few that are not on the grid. There's some weird stuff going on, maybe with some connection difficulties, and Dalton Tucker is at the back end of the field as Brian Jones is up there nudging the pace car. But we are about to go racing. Let's look at the Whiplash SimCam's race details. 120 laps, 300 miles, just shy of 500 kilometers. 100% fuel, that gives these guys about 29 to 33 laps thereabouts in terms of fuel range. 10 change sets. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what they actually do in pit strategy. And then weather conditions for these guys this evening, Zach. Here we go. 84 on, well, in the air, 111 on track. It is hot and disgusting in virtual speedway here this evening. But here we go. Brian Jones leading us down to the start zone. Josh Conover effectively on pole. Green flag from the Brickyard. And off of turn 2, Zach, down the back straight, already one car loose. That was the 7 of Ronnie Norman on the inside. And single file through your top 3 spots, then side by side by the 18 and 81.
And Malone taking a big nudge to the inside on Baumler. Gonna leave him the space. And that outside line is gonna be very defensive as you see Baumler clears the 18. Now they're single file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next side by side. That's Cody Anderson on the inside line. He's trying to make it work, but that toe down the straightaway, that is going to give whoever's running up against the wall a big advantage. As lap number 1's been completed, Brian Jones still on the point.
And there goes Brian Jones through turn number 1, setting the pace here early. Dalton Tucker, you see him down 1 lap. He is off of the racetrack right now, Zach, and I know that's hurting everybody's fantasy team, mine included, I think, because I picked him to win, but that's okay. Thankfully, I don't have him in the groups. I have the number 45 that's leading the race. Regardless, that is a huge, huge blow to Dalton Tucker's evening here. Thankfully, he's got 6 wins and a whole lot of points to fall back on.
Yeah, he does. It's going to be hard to rebound from that. I didn't necessarily put Tucker in my lineup, I don't think, but... oh, actually, no, I think I did. I think I had him for fastest lap. But he can do that from any position on the racetrack. In any case, the race up front, this is riding on board with Ronnie Norman, as Brian Jones sets the fastest lap in the clean air. A little further back.
This is Wayne Sparks actually with Matthew George. They were teammates at the start of the season. Wayne now shifting over to the 43 car as he's been MIA for a handful of weeks. So good to see him back in the field. We'll try and get that number graphic for him sorted out on the ticker here shortly, but for now, displayed as the number 5, but running the 43. It's a bit of a confusing situation, but we'll do our best.
Well, I can tell you, there definitely is a bit of a learning curve that we can see on that 43 car. Usually we saw Sparks running up towards the front of the field in the Hendrick Motorsports number 5. That has since been taken over by Caden Henry Oaks. If I'm not right, Caden's in the 5 now, correct? Yes. So it's pretty much relearning himself at the moment. This is riding on board with Brock Morris. That's a... You noticed that too, Andrew. He was pinching his entry a little bit right there into turn 1.
Yeah, and these guys, they're going to have to. This car is just, it does not handle very well on this racetrack, if I'm being honest, Zach, but these guys doing a good job of it so far as Ronnie Norman is now having connection difficulties. And here we go, pass for second. Ryan Housden used the draft that time to get by the 48 into turn number 3, so a change there in the podium positions. As now Baumler looks on from 4th spot. Housden went high that time in turn 4, but he's going to hang on to position number 2 as they dump back onto the front stretch. There is a side-by-side back there. Ronnie Norman, Jake Christenberry. Here they are. And Norman going to end up falling back.
Slots in right behind Jake Christenberry. He's going to have some work to do if he wants to get back up inside the top 10. But as these cars get single file, Andrew, they're going to start spacing out a lot more. We can already see it towards the front of the field. Housden has passed up Conover for that second spot. They're pretty close together, but they're 9/10 behind the race leader of Brian Jones. They have lost a considerable amount of ground. It's, I don't know, Andrew. I say this at quite a few tracks, but it holds true. These tracks act like a bit of a road course. If you waste too much time side by side, you're going to lose a lot more time than you think you will.
Yeah, you really don't want to be side by side here at Indianapolis any more than you need to be. And if you end up side by side, you want to have that pass made, or at least get it figured out by the time you get to the next corner, usually turn 1 or turn 3. Tucker still off the racetrack in the 23rd spot. 22 made the start. Looks like those couple of drivers that we thought might miss it did, in fact, miss it this evening, one of them being Caden Perkins in the 84. I do question why they sign in and then don't race, but...
well,
maybe.
I can tell you for certain, we won't see that 3 car out on the racetrack. Dalton Tucker has taken leave from the racetrack.
And here we go, a big gaggle off of turn number 4. Look at this. The 88 of Hom, the 43 of Sparks up the inside, the 38 of Skavnicki. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Going down to turn number 1. Really, really tight right there. Skavnicki powers around the outside. Here comes Tub to the inside of the 43 car of Sparks. Holds ground. Right behind him, Matthew George washes up a little bit, gets loose. Morris goes on by, so does Kite. You saw that just out of the top left of your screen. this is the fight still going on down into turn number 3. There's Bladulich right up the road. And Tub just trying to find a way around the 43. This is the type of racetrack where you just want to set it up, get that momentum down the straightaway, and use the straightaway as the passing zone. It's very, very difficult to do, but if done correctly, it can really set you up for success going down into the next corner.
Getting things figured out there in the midfield. And Caden Henry Oaks, by the way, he did make it onto the racetrack. There he is at a turn 1 now. He is just kind of riding around doing his thing. A little ways behind these guys. Not sure what caused him to start from the pit lane tonight. I know at one point he was questionable on if he'd even race, but those plans changed, and so here he is. Just not sure what kept him from being on the grid this evening at the drop of the green flag. Meanwhile, Brian Jones leading, and I don't know that he's looking back anytime soon. And what an interesting slate of tracks. If he were to win tonight, Atlanta in the spring, Michigan in June, and now Indianapolis here. It's a very odd set of racetracks to be specifically good at, but hey, I'm never gonna, I guess, look the wrong way at a win, right? A win's a win. If you can be competitive, absolutely go for it.
I'll say he's done an absolutely fantastic job of kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Repertoire comes to mind, but I feel like I'm using it in the wrong.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. He's doing a bit of the Indy snake down the straightaway to turn 3. He's got a very interesting box of tools, perhaps.
Sure, I feel like that might be a good way to say it. But as we continue on, once we hit the completion of lap 12, we will be 1/10 of the way through this race, Andrew. It's a small margin, but with 10 change sets and, well, 12 laps is 1/10, so set of tires every 12 laps or so, but they'll go a lot longer than that.
Well, and that's the thing about these races, Zach. You would divide that actually by 11 because they have 10 change sets. With the set already on the car, that's 11 runs they could potentially do. Thankfully, though, these guys can go around 30 laps to a tank. So, really, you're aiming for about 31, 32 if you can, because, yeah, you want to kind of split it into 4 equal segments. Well, and, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, no, you're right. 4 segments, but 3 stops.
Yep.
Your margin at least has to be after lap 30. If you can make it past lap 30, you can take that margin and continue to extend it so you can make your final run as short as possible. However, oh boy, you're going to get me talking math strategy now. If you make that last run too short, you limit the amount of time that you have to catch any potential car in front of you based on the tire strategy. Because a lot of times at tracks like Indianapolis, where long run speed is very, very important, undercutting can be just as important, as Nick Hom is going to go around the outside of Brock Morris.
Rather, I think it's the opposite way around. I think Brock is trying to pass the 88 here. Can't do it that time through turn 1 or 2. Bobbles off of 2. And Matthew George might have an opportunity here down the long straightaway into turn number 3.
Look at him wiggle.
Yeah, we heard a lot about Brock Morris so far. Maybe just taking some time to learn the race car. He, of course, had to start from the back as well. That's going to hurt him. Let's give him some time. Let's maybe see if we can get him to a restart or something with some guys towards the front and kind of even things out. But right now, he's not exactly lighting the world on fire. He's actually getting past here. Matthew George to the inside. And to be fair, maybe we put too high of expectations on Brock. We don't know a whole lot about him. We just heard from Hunter Sr. that maybe he's one to be reckoned with. And let's give him a little bit of time to actually catch up to these guys and kind of figure this car out, figure these, these drivers out, the series out and whatnot. But we do certainly hope to see good things to that number 8 car soon. Of course, not the situation in which Brady wanted to turn the car over, but he knew it would be likely anyways with the baby on the way and everything. And yeah, not ideal, but that's life. On board with Ronnie Norman, 11th spot, currently trying to chase down the number 11, Jake Christenberry. We mentioned at the top of the show, Zach, the point standings and everything, watching the chase battles. Christenberry is one that we have to watch, kind of by force. He is right on the edge. And actually on the points graphic, I made his points deficit to the cut line yellow because I feel like he's on the fringe of being back in contention. But if you look on Sim Racer Hub, it's actually red. It still considers him more than one race back, but he has driven himself out of a bit of a deficit, is starting to catch up a little bit, and might be on the edge of getting back into contention with Donald Kite, per se. I don't know that he makes it back up at all to the top 10, but certainly we're thinking very hopefully, very optimistically for driver number 11, as he might be back in the fight, might not. He's having a good start to the night, I will say that.
Yeah, he's having a really good start tonight and keeping himself in good contention at the moment, but I don't know, Andrew, I look at these points, I wouldn't even lie to you, I thought Vincent Arthur was going to miss the race. I didn't see him join the session until relatively late in practice. He's just at that point above the cut line where he is in good contention to keep himself in a solid spot. Look at Flagella's big time sideways off the corner, but any misstep, any big mistake, that could really take that 24 car out of the hunt.
And Wayne Sparks going to take up the inside of John Skavnicki. That is a pass for position 14, if he can get it complete, and maybe not yet. Skavnicki not done. I don't know that I saw John make fantasy picks today. That could spell trouble for our fantasy points leader, but these two having a fun little fight here off of turn number 4. They get this again for spots 14 and 15. Tubb right behind, and man, Kyle Tubb has been a lot of fun to watch lately, trying to chase that chase cut line. Tonight, though, again, just like Brock a little farther back, just not lighting the world on fire by any means. Kind of struggling here early.
Trying to find his footing and seeing where he can go as Tubb. Oh, big time loose right there off the corner. Everyone seems to be getting real sideways off of turn number 2 and turn number 4. It gets to the inside of Wayne Sparks. Really tight racing off of 3.
And so, we continue on about halfway through this run, a little over halfway potentially for these drivers. Pit stops not very far away at all. And I'm not saying that... how do I put this? I want to say that I'm surprised by where some of these guys are running, because I did not expect Baumler to be in the top 5, nor did I expect both Housden and Conover. It kind of feels like when one's good, the other kind of falters. But those three in the middle of this top 5 right now, with Jones, who I kind of expected, and Malone, who certainly I expected to be up here. I'm very happy to see those 3 Chevrolets in the middle of this top 5 right now. And then Anderson is 6th, Geilis is 7th, Watcherson 8th, Hunter Sr., Ronnie Norman. It's a very interesting top 10. That said, of course, we are missing a handful of cars this evening. Chase Durheim missing his first race of the season. He's not here in the number 16. We also are effectively missing Dalton Tucker, right? So a handful of drivers that I think we would typically expect up here, just not up here. And then Vincent is down in 11th right now, which is a little bit odd for him. And that accounts for a decent helping of the drivers we would typically see up front, but it's still just a little bit strange to me.
Is it full moon tonight?
You know, I could look into that. I don't think so. Maybe in a week.
I don't keep track of the moon cycles as much as I should. Actually, who does keep track of the moon cycles?
Well, we are a week and a couple of days away from the next full moon. It'll be the buck moon on July 29th. I can tell you the first quarter begins tomorrow, it looks like. July 21st. You know who does keep track of moon cycles, though? Noah Gregson and Chase Briscoe. I think it's the waxing gibbous that gives them a little more grip on the racetrack. I don't know. Something about moon cycles and whatnot. But I can tell you there's no moon cycle in iRacing. There is no moon, actually, in iRacing. I'm not sure why. We have a sun. In fact, I was talking with you and my beautiful fiancée, Kayla, earlier about the sun box and the sky box in iRacing and how the sun travels across the landscape and does actually simulate a day and seasons and stuff like that in terms of placement of the sky, but that's about it. That there is not a simulation of the moon in any way. Don't know why. Female iRacing, I guess. I don't know.
Okey-dokey on that one.
We're already on a tangent, Zach, and it's not even lap 20. I mean, I will say this is kind of status quo for Indianapolis. It's never super exciting, but what we can say is this 15 car, Ryan Housden, could tonight be the night. I know Jennifer Housden, Mama Housden, is watching out there this evening. She's been picking fantasy the last handful of weeks, and boy, Ryan is looking good. He's running the leader down, lap after lap, putting time on this 45 car, pulling the draft into the corner. Speeds in excess of 195 miles per hour before they hit the brakes.
These guys are getting up there. I think this is probably, well, no. We were going faster at Pocono, weren't we?
It's very close, I will say. Both tracks get very, very quick and near 200, and there we go. Howes did about a quarter of a second back into turn 1 this time. We'll track his speed into turn 3 this next time around as he is on the back bumper nearly of that 45 car. A little bit free there off the corner. Jones was too. Using the draft. Let's see what that speed says into the third turn here, Zach. 197, 89. Didn't quite tickle 200, but he was close.
Very, very close indeed. Lord only knows how long Brian Jones can continue to stay out in front like this. There's Conover, Baumler, Anderson, Malone, Geilis, Watraus, Senior, and Norman. Your top 10 still. Really, really close to the back bumper. Closer than he's been so far in that 15 car of Housden. I think the big thing as well, Andrew, is just keeping your nose in the clean air. It's really hard to do that when following someone.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's got the grip he does in behind the 45, and we could see ourselves a pass here to turn 3. Look who's closing in, the 48, Conover.
Yeah, Conover is reeling them both in. Finding a way to get back up there. And what I was talking about with getting on the clean air, Andrew, the best thing to do realistically, it's a kind of a weird thing to do, but it's pinch your corners. Turn in a little bit earlier. Have the clean air once you hit the apex. So that way your car rotates. It's going to burn up the tires a little bit more, but you've got to find a way to get that clean air. And look at Jones. He runs about a half a lane off of the white line. That puts a little bit of clean air on the nose of the 15. And he is taking a bit of a shallower entry compared to the 45.
You can tell the top 3, I think, is out to lunch versus the rest of the field. They've got something that the rest of these guys don't currently, but pit stops are on the way. And we know the target lap is going to be that lap 30, but if these guys can get there with a bit of insurance, do you pit right at 30 complete? Do you wait until 31, 32? Do you go for 33 even? I think, Zach, this first run, you want to go a little bit late and give yourself, if you have to play catch-up, you got to play catch-up, whatever. But go a little bit long and try to give yourself some extra insurance for later in the race if you can. You can always short pit later on. But if you short pit too soon, if you pit too soon at any point in this race, that constricts you later on. Get the extra laps while you can. If you have to, you have 3 more runs. If this goes green, 3 more runs to try and get back on track with others. As in the wall there, Brian Jones.
Big run here for Housden.
One in the pit lane, Ross Lineback. The 59 hits the pits as these guys start to do some close quarters battle. Housden, you can tell, he doesn't have that grip that time in 3, but he's got to run this time in 4. That close, falls back. As there is Lineback in the number 59. He's taking service here briefly. Looks like 4 tires for him, and here we go, down the front stretch. The top 3.
closer and closer to pit stops. One has to wonder, who is going to make the first move out of these top three? As right behind him, there's a fight for fourth. Anderson was looking to the inside of Baumler. Couldn't quite get it done.
Yeah, no dice here for Anderson. He does point low of Baumler into the corner, maybe trying to scare the driver of the 81 here just a little bit. No dice at the moment. He'll stay back. But interesting to watch these guys start to fight a little bit for this spot. I would think maybe you want to draft up to the leaders. Instead, this is going to open the door to Jacob Malone behind. You see that string of 6 cars is not far back. You got to be careful here if you're these two. And sure enough, Baumler lets the 33 go. That was smart.
I think there was a little confusion and a little irritation, we'll say, between Baumler and Cody Anderson.
In the pits, Jake Christenberry coming in. This is early, and this is a driver that I would not expect to be making a random off-sequence stop. This is a little concerning to me for the 11 camp to pit this early in the run. Again, you want to go for 30. Him pitting here at 25, that spells danger to me. Meanwhile, look at this. Jacob Malone getting passed up by Nick Geilis. That is not what I would have expected when we dropped the green flag here. Could Malone, though, be in fuel save mode?
I wonder what fuel saving would be needed right now, though.
Well, if we're seeing Christenberry have to pit at 25 and we want to go to 30, then there's some fuel saving required, it sounds like.
I guess so.
Here comes Hunter Sr. to the inside of car number 18. That would be for the 7th spot. Senior's got the run. He's going to bring Watrous down to the bottom side of the racetrack, and that should help him into turn 3 this time. And sure enough, car 18 lets car 4 go on by. Right as Vincent Arthur takes advantage of the 40 of Watrous. Arthur back into the top 10, now into 9th. Oh, watch out.
This whole single file gaggle right here is getting a little out of hand. Getting a little racy.
Our leaders, no change there. The top 3 is still in the same formation as they have been. But this little group getting really, really fun to watch, honestly. I mean, this is, I would say, Baumler through Norman right now, so that's 5th through 11th. Here comes Arthur. Looks to the inside of Malone. Malone going to burp the throttle a little bit into turn 3. That gives the advantage now to car 24. Vincent Arthur takes over position number 8. And Malone continues to head the wrong direction. He has looked bulletproof lately, even on the ovals, but tonight, maybe a detour for him as he has headed backwards within this top 10. Up front, lap traffic, Brian Jones dealing with the lapped 11 of Jake Christenberry. And it's hard to say if Christenberry ever went the lap down. I wasn't looking for it, and of course he's back ahead of the 45 now, but this has really helped open the gap for Jones somehow. He is back to nearly a second ahead of Housden. The 15 suddenly headed the wrong direction.
Conover right on the back bumper, looking to see if he can take that second spot back from the 15. I wonder what happened here. Housden was right up on the back bumper of Brian Jones. And Conover's got to run. He's going to be patient, though.
Sure enough, the 15 hangs on to the second spot for now. Conover waits just a little bit longer. But how long will Conover be patient? Don't want to lose tabs on the 45 car. And if we go back to who you got from earlier today, we posted the 45 versus the 48. That said, look at this little fight. Baumler, Geilis, Sr. Throw in Vincent Arthur. Getting exciting here in the midfield. Guileless makes his way around the top side of the 81, so Baumler down a spot. Then look farther back. Wayne Sparks has caught these guys. Sparks around the outside. That will be for 11th currently. Pit stop. Here comes the 18. Here comes the 40. And we've also got a couple leaders in. Houston and Conover. This is early for all of them by about a lap.
Yeah, they're right on the margin right here at lap 30.
They did have an extra pace lap, so this I think is kind of okay, but you do not want to go any farther than lap 6, or sorry, any shorter than lap 60 the next run. Houston has to back up. 100%. That just gave that position to the 48. Even Malone has to back up into his box. Down and away. There goes the 48. He's going to win the race off the pit lane. Virtually no contest with Ryan Houston, who will exit right behind him. And now I wonder, do we see our leaders answer? Yes, Brian Jones is in. That's going to bring everybody else out of the top 5, top 10 in this time, except for Vincent Arthur and Kevin Baumler. And look at the run into the pits. Kite, Skavnicki, all these guys scrambling down to the pit lane.
Everyone responding to the pit cycle. The 4 car of Hunter Sr. heading into the pit lane now. So it's another top 10 car in. Brian Jones into his box. Vincent Arthur stays out to assume control of the race lead.
Anderson, Guileless, Norman, Sr. in. There's Henry Oakes in the 5. Brian Jones waiting to be released from his box. Here he goes. Jacks are down. There he goes. He launches. Where exactly are our leaders? There is Vincent Arthur at a turn 4 now. Then, where is Conover? There he is in turn 1. And he's going to go by Anderson in the 33. I don't know that he's going to get necessarily to the 45. It's going to be close. Oh, yeah, he's got him. He's got momentum. Here comes the 48 around the outside, and Josh Conover will assume the eventual race lead. Also, Vincent Arthur is in this time. Here he comes down the pit lane along with Kevin Baumler. They are in for their first stop of the race. There you see the 20 and the 25. They all went this extra margin. That's what you want to go for. So tighten that fuel window up. I'd call it even 26 to 31 laps is really what these guys are able to do. That said, look at Nick Hom. He is still out here. He has not pitted yet.
This is what I was talking about, Andrew. The undercut has been able to work at tracks like this before. Conover, Houston, Jones, they have all usurped Arthur for the race lead. Christenberry and Anderson have gone on by as well. So Nick Hom is the lone car out there to make a pit stop at this point. And these guys are about 21 seconds behind him and closing quickly. So I think it's time to respond, and that he does. The 88 car taking it hard down into the pit lane, sliding into the pit lane. Just about made it.
So Nick Hom will hit the pit lane, and he'll be the final domino to fall in this pit cycle. By the way, Leinbach has called it an evening. He is out of the race in 22nd spot. Yeah, there you see the race leaders coming up to these guys. We'll see them go by Hom here on the front straightaway. And there they go.
Oh, jeez. These guys are pulling just under 200 miles an hour. The cameras, you see it on TV, you see it on the iRacing.com sim. They don't always do it justice on how fast they're actually going, but when you sit there, look at a speed shot cam, like I say, Andrew, they're my favorite cameras, you really just see the sheer speed of these cars as they roll into the corners. Hitting the speed traps, as they say.
And that time for Jones, not quite 200, tickling the edge, 199 and change into turn 3. Can he get a little bit quicker this time? We'll keep an eye on it into turn 1 as he chases Houston. We have effectively swapped ends here in the top 3. By the way, Christenberry, with that early pit from him, he is now 4th, and I wonder if he is legitimately on an alternate strategy, as there's 200 for Jones.
200. Going into 1.
Big 200. But Christenberry, obviously, we know he cannot go as long on fuel. But if some of these guys maybe mismanage their fuel later in the race, he could already have the leg up since he's committed to the strategy. I don't know that it's going to be a winning strategy for the 11 car, but certainly one worth paying attention to as he's running with Cody Anderson down the backstretch. Also, in terms of the 5, we talked about one of the 5 drivers maybe winning this thing. I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, Tucker's out of it. He, of course, went pole position tonight. He's out, though. Next, I would have assumed Arthur to be in contention, but he is not even in the top 10 currently. So then you look at Anderson Sr. and Kite. Of those 3, Anderson clearly best of them currently.
Everything moving in the right direction for Anderson. Keeping himself rolling up through the field as he is currently working on Christenberry. One has got to think, though, for Ryan Houston, one's got a feel for that man. Everything's swapping around up at the front of the field, and he remains in the 2nd spot. Gotta admire the consistency as another move down the back straightaway for Anderson. He's gonna pull a bit of a side draft on the quarter panel. He's got the better tires. He's got the ability to see it through. And going down into turn 3, Christenberry lets him have it. And up to 4th, the 33 car of Anderson. Out here scoring owner's points. Guileless right behind him, Malone, Watrous, Senior, and Sparks. Wayne Sparks up into the top 10 in that 43 car. Again, it does say 5 on the ticker, but it is the 43 car on the racetrack.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Zach. We have been open in the past about fielding teams in these leagues that we cover on occasion. Most notably BRB. Also now the All-American Racing Network since earlier this year. And we've even started to field a couple of cars here in NORA. While we don't have any in the race tonight, we have been looking at a team to acquire for 2027. I won't spill the beans exactly, but looking at some teams. And if I were in the market for a driver, of the drivers that I know can actually be approached and maybe persuaded to go a different direction, this guy is 100% top of my list. I know NASCAR and Indianapolis don't always go that well together, Zach, but I feel like if you can do well in a stock car in Indy, you can do well in a stock car anywhere. And I'm not saying that if you do well anywhere, you can do well at Indy. It's like a square and a rectangle. How every square is a rectangle, not every rectangle is a square. If you do well at Indy in a stock car, I feel like you can drive well in a stock car anywhere. And Anderson is showing once again just what he's made of in that 33 car. And I'm going to be honest, maybe a DM gets sent his way. He's been looking better and better. If I'm a team owner in NORA, and I suppose I am, I'm looking at this guy for 2027.
He has been standout in terms of part-time performances. But you're only getting owner's points. He's done a fantastic job of keeping himself in the hunt. Reminds me, Josh Conover actually sent us all of the information in regards to the owner points and the 5 bonuses, and taking a look at the owner's points. That 33 car currently is sitting 13th among the owner's point standings, right behind the number 8 DEI car and the 32 PPI Motorsports racing machine. He's a considerable distance behind them, but he's also a considerable distance in front of the 21 car, so keeping himself in a good standpoint in regards to those owner points. And the chase might, keyword being might, be a little out of contention for that 33 car, currently sitting up just under 100 points behind of the top 10. It's going to be close. If they want to put that 33 car in contention for owner's points, in the chase that is, it's going to be very close if they're going to get that owner's points championship. They're pointing themselves in the right direction so far, as really they're running in front of all of their competition.
It's worth mentioning as well, after this evening at Indianapolis, our fantasy game is actually going to switch over to be using those owner's points versus driver's points. So the groups, as Watrous gets the wall big time off of turn number 2, the groups that we have to choose drivers from will be switching to use the owner's points, and basically you're choosing each car. That's how we do it in the NASCAR fantasy game that we do on Facebook, and that's how we're going to start to do it here, which is going to shake things up a little bit. I mean, for example, suddenly Anderson's going to be up in Group 2. You won't be able to pick him quite like you have been. And that's going to open up. I mean, the 5, I think, is going to jump up significantly, maybe into that conversation for Group 2. That could bump Henry Oaks up, and that's obviously going to bump guys down as well. So things are going to change big time in that fantasy game after this evening. It's something to watch for, as we're also watching the battle for second. Ryan Jones, you know, last run, it was like Jones was getting caught by Housden. Now Housden getting caught by Jones.
You know, Andrew, this is the first time we've actually also seen Brian Jones in the dirty air. So now we get to see how the man works sitting behind another race car. He's been leading the charge, keeping that clean air, and not really having to worry. But now he's actually got to fight. And as we continue to close in on the halfway point in the race, one has to wonder what the man's going to think about doing, as Conover is starting to build that gap to Housden. Jones can't, if he's got the faster car, like we have seen him have so far this race, how long does he sit behind Brian Housden before he decides that it's time to go?
Well, that is something I was alluding to on the previous run, you know, to make sure you run a little bit longer this first time around, like Hom did, for example. I think you want to go, and even Jones did this actually. I think you want to go a little bit longer the first time because it gives you a wider box to play within, you know, a bigger sandbox the future runs. So yes, it can put you behind, like we're seeing for Jones here. It can put you behind others just a little bit, but he's got a much larger sandbox to play in, and if this thing goes green, he's in a much better spot, and frankly, he doesn't have to save as much as these two might.
I mean, building on that, though, let's think realistically here. Tom stayed out the longest out of anyone, and he's sitting quite a bit of a ways back from the race leader, about 28, 29 seconds overall. The next car closest to him is 6 seconds up the road. That's Matthew George.
And he was already back there. I mean, I think that was his strategy the whole time. And frankly, he typically runs, no offense to you, Nick, but about 15th spot or so. Maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on the racetrack. So I don't think that's necessarily indicative of the strategy as problems here. Cars are askew into turn 4. This might be worth our first replay of the night, as they're not quite done. And look, Bomber's back here in 13th. Some damage though on the right side of Christenberry's car. Hang on to it, Jake. Trying to make the chase, and he's got big issues up the racetrack. Jake Christenberry, that car not handling well at all. Here's the onboard with him. Let's see just how bad it is on the straightaway. Oh boy, yeah, that's not it. It's gonna look back. It seems like he's gonna be okay for now. Let's take a look back at what happened to the 11 car down in turn 3 or so. This is bottlenecking these guys. Remember, he's on older tires, so this is kind of the cause of this. He pitted earlier. He's on old tires now. He bottles them up 3 wide down the backstretch. Watchers goes low. And Watchers just missed the bottom. That gets the 11 upset up the racetrack, and boom, concrete. Well, I got safer barrier, then concrete.
Driver radio was...
I can only imagine.
Was not the greatest.
I can only imagine. Here's the run from a different view into turn 3. Watchers misses the bottom and just up the track, gets his left rear. Watchers then checks up, and Jake just didn't quite enough, and then he got him again just for good measure.
I'm sorry. I'm floating back and forth between listening to these guys continue to talk on driver radio about this. So Christenberry is obviously very upset in regards to Watrous going down there on the bottom. There seems to be a lot of discourse about it being intentional.
Oh, I don't know about that. That doesn't... Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
It's not helped by the fact of Isaiah coming on the radio and saying, in quote, if I didn't do it, somebody else would.
I think that was more so trying to pick a time to move to the inside of the 11. Again, you know, you could see even off of 2, there was a big bottleneck from the 11 having older tires, but yeah, that definitely is not a good way to communicate about it. And this is a lap or 2 prior, Zach, and so you can see the bottleneck has already begun, you know, a lap or 2 beforehand. But that definitely is not the driver radio to have in response to you hitting somebody and potentially ruining their race and their chase. And that's the other thing. I gotta be careful and pace myself here, but if you are an owner points only driver, at no time should you be making contact to pass somebody who's racing for their chase hopes. You know, that driver's racing for their driver's championship. You can't get physical and then act apathetic to it, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole issue that people have had with Joey Logano for years and Carson Hocevar, and Logano's even gone as far as to say he wishes if he had the incident with Matt Kenseth in 2015 back, he would explain to Matt, hey, this is why I did what I did, and that would have changed everything with Matt Kenseth. At that point in his career, Matt being a 15-year veteran of the NASCAR Cup Series, that would have absolutely changed things. And in this case, if you're Isaiah, man, just own up to it. Own the mistake, say, yeah, didn't mean to hit you there, sorry, and move on. Apathy will get you nowhere in circles like this. That is one thing I have learned. You've gone awfully quiet over there. You're usually the voice to keep me in check.
Well, I can't necessarily disagree with you this time.
Just own the mistake.
Just kind of sitting here thinking about it all. I'm also trying to kind of keep in touch with driver radio. It's one of the few things that, you know, I tend to keep in touch with here on the broadcast, on the production side, and, you know, everything's gone awfully quiet. I think everyone's just settling back into the run, listening to their spotters, and finding ways to just continue on with the race rather than upset and cause some more discourse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know, I wonder as well if they had just waited and passed Jake when he pits. Sure, they would have lost a little bit of time, but they probably would have come out initially behind the 11 and then had a chance later to I don't know. I get the frustration of being stuck behind somebody that's going slower because of strategy and them having older tires, but again, being apathetic towards their situation that you just put them in, you know, putting them in the wall and again ruining their race, potentially damaging their chase hopes. That's not the right way to do that. And I can tell you as well, one thing I've learned about NORA specifically, this is a very tight-knit group. They go way back, they take care of each other, they look out for one another, and if you poke one of them, you're poking them all. So, in fact, let me look over here in Discord, Zach. I wonder, who is Watch Us racing with? Who's he in a channel with tonight? I don't see him in a channel with anybody. Which only makes it that much more confusing.
Chris and Barry obviously with the Joe Gibbs racing stable, so he's got Malone and Gladgelich to bounce off of, but neither of them were really close into that fight. Malone wasn't in there.
Yeah, no.
He was a little further up the road.
I was just curious if Watch Us maybe was... Like, okay, if you're going to accuse him of doing that intentionally, I wonder if maybe if you can draw the conclusion that he's trying to help somebody else in the points, but I don't see him in communication with anybody to suggest that. I will say this is a very interesting turn of things as we get late in the second run. The 48 of Conover has taken off. He's 2 seconds up on Housden, and this is separation we couldn't even see Jones get. This is also the second run in a row now that Housden is stuck in dirty air. Now, the first run, he passed Conover while Conover was in Jones' dirty air. This time, Conover not in Jones' dirty air, and Housden can't take advantage, and in fact, he's actually holding up the 45 car as these laps go on.
Conover building a 2-second lead over the rest of the field now. This is going to help him when it comes time for pit stops later. I think having that gap is going to negate the fact of if Conover wanted to stay out further. This is the type of racing that people are afraid of. And I'm going to say it louder in the back for people to hear it. Nobody likes to see a driver run away with it. However, we die-hard racing fans love watching a driver get far enough out in front that he can start negating any potential losses over the strategy with that gap that he has built. You hear it all the time on spotter audio and radio. Manage the gap. Hit your marks. Watch the gap to the car behind. Managing that gap is crucial. You see it constantly in Formula 1 too. Manage the gap, keep them in check, and keep your strategy pointed in a good direction.
And strategy is about to get interesting. Christenberry out of the race currently. I'm curious, Zach, do we go for a comment?
Maybe want to let that one simmer down. Let it cool down off the stove for a few minutes.
You're no fun. I would love to know what he's thinking currently, kind of where he's at, now that he's had a chance to look back over it and stew a little bit, but also cool down. I mean, that's the... It's double-edged for sure. Yes, he's kind of sitting on it, he's not in the car, but he also has a chance to cool down at the same time. So I think we'll come to him soon, and Jake, if you're out there listening, if you want to come up to us sooner, by all means, feel free to do so, but I'll be curious to kind of see what he's got to say, as this run looks very different from about 30 laps ago. Malone even is up higher. He's up in 6th right now as we take a look at our partners with the series, Harpoon Design, Sparks Builders, Dark Star Garage, and of course all of this for the National Oval Racing Association. A big thank you to our partners as well, Whiplash SimCams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murdos Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. Now you see the number 18, along with the 43 of Sparks, the 4 of Senior, the 24 of Arthur. All of these guys in the back half of the top 10, and then there's your race leader already at the stripe here in a moment. Continuing to put laps under his belt this evening. And Zach, what exactly is going on with you picking him for wins and sometimes it actually working out? I think Darlington has something to do with that.
Please stop talking. Oh, no. I don't want to start knocking on wood just yet, but I don't know. We have that little love-hate relationship going on. Love and respect the man, absolutely. But my God, what is it with Josh Conover and just doing good when I tend to pick him? I don't know. How about that one? Christenberry ripping out of the pit lane and turning the fastest lap of the race.
And there is Jake Christenberry, got the car repaired. And we've actually seen this more than once, Zach. I don't know what the science is to it, but sometimes damaging the car and coming back out can actually help you. That said, if we look at the weather conditions currently, the track temp has also come down just a little bit. That could be a big part, and you see the cloud cover here in turn 3, but we see another big heater from the 11 car, and even from high above, you can see there's the cloud cover back on the left side of your screen, turns 3 and 4. Now 1 and 2 are back in sunlight. That is one thing very cool about iRacing. You do get the clouds moving across the sky as well, which is another part of why they need to have their skyboxes set correctly, but anyways, I digress.
Oh boy.
I'm just saying, we already had Indianapolis cameras built from May when we had the BRB Sundance Pro Series here, but on the new version of the racetrack, I load those cameras onto this older version of the track today, and for whatever reason, they simply don't work. In fact, iRacing moved the track within the skybox. Not even, this is the kicker, not even the rotation, Zach. Every camera was about 50 feet towards the backstretch. They were all lined up. In fact, I confirmed it by looking at the speed shot. It was still right on the start-finish line, but in the middle of those garages there that are attached or adjacent to the pagoda. Not sure.
Alley.
Yes, Gasoline Alley, thank you. Not really sure exactly why, but anyways.
You're the one who usually remembers that kind of stuff. I'm not the one who usually remembers it.
Well, can't all be perfect. Gotta throw you a bone every once in a while.
Well, you can still have it over me that you know just about every single name to every single corner at all the international tracks.
Oh, not all. We are seeing some battling here right at the end of the run, though. Look at this. Brian Jones has gotten clear of Ryan Housden. That's for second spot. And then Sparks up into sixth ahead of Malone, with Senior and Arthur trailing just behind. Some big-time battles back here as well. John Skavnicki now behind the 5 of Caden Henry Oaks. Caden started this race from the pit lane. He's only 19 seconds behind the leaders. And if we do get a caution, Zach, if we do catch him up and actually get him some track position, we need to watch out for the 5. Also, I love that we're getting more driver photos on the broadcast here. In fact, let's start with Christenberry and go on. So we have one for Christenberry. We got one for Hom. We don't yet for George or Gladulus. We have one for Skavnicki. And these guys, man, they keep getting more and more aura, I feel like, in their photos. Donald Kites, there we go. He's looking like, he looks like a NASCAR driver. I don't know how else to say it. He looks like a NASCAR driver. We've got one for Kyle Tubb, who also looks like he could be a NASCAR driver. Kevin Baumler, Ronnie Norman, Vincent Arthur, looks like he could be an ARCA driver. He is. Hopefully one day up in trucks, O'Reilly, something like that, even Cup. Working though on the Tricon Garage trucks is his weekly thing. Hunter Sr., we got one for him. Then there's Wayne Sparks. He's got a rooster.
Where'd you get the rooster?
I don't know. It's his co-driver, I suppose. Cody Anderson.
Jocko Flacco type moment.
For real. Ryan Housden, and then Josh Conover. And I will say, knowing Caden, he absolutely, unironically, wears his hair and his mustache exactly like that. This was not a get-up just for the photo. This was absolutely intentional by Caden. And this, you could see him, I believe, at 84 Lumber, looking exactly like that.
Put him in the 3 car next year. He's
Yeah.
got the Earnhardt dash.
Well, okay, so Atlantis actually chiming in, Atlantis King, chiming in about Brian Jones, saying that he keeps his face off the internet as a bit. I've noticed that, actually, in their socials and stuff. We should get him some kind of avatar, like a silhouette avatar that is...
Like a VTuber?
I don't know about that. We do have pit stops, though. Malone headed to the pit lane. But we should get some kind of silhouette of Jones that doesn't exactly show his exact face, but we need to do that. Pit stops. Malone is in. Caden Henry Oaks is in. This is a little bit early. Again, we're going for like 60-61 here. And we did have, who just pitted? It was Gladulus. I'm surprised. The 20 pitted early. We typically see him save fuel and go longer. And then here comes Josh Conover. And Zach, this might be okay for Conover. He brings Jones and Housden in. This is cutting it very close, though, because if we get any kind of extra distance, say that we go green to a lap, 119, as everybody is hitting the pit lane here. Aside from Cody Anderson, Wayne Sparks, and Hunter Sr., and Kevin Baumler, it looks like everybody else comes in. If we do get into a late race caution, green-white checkered scenario, this means they have to pit. There's no chance of them stretching the fuel, which honestly race control might appreciate after the eNASCAR iRace and Coca-Cola series here, but they would have to pit. They would not have extra fuel. And down and away, there goes Conover, Jones to follow. Housden launched early, but not quite enough to get alongside even of the 45. Guileless will follow them out, then Arthur, Norman, Tubb, and more. Anderson comes in. That's going to bring
Congratulations.
Sparks. That's going to bring Senior. Go ahead.
I was watching the pit road camera, and Gladwich almost ran into the back of Hunter Sr., so we almost got our first caution right there, or pretty freaking close. But the biggest thing that I'm searching for right now, Andrew, is penalties, black flags, speeding penalties, unsafe pit entrance, unsafe pit exit, seeing if there's anything that these drivers are making a mistake on. Oh, there's contact in turn number 3. Vincent Arthur and Jacob Malone.
But they've got it
Yeah, a
sorted
little
out.
bit of a moment right there.
We did see the 81. We were on board with him there for a moment. Calvin Baumler has stretched the fuel out a little bit longer. Let's see what happened between these two down in the third turn. Here's the run. Malone around the outside. Arthur on the inside. And boy, is that a common theme. Somebody on the inside not making turn 3. Arthur missed his marks, got up into the 18, and knowing Vincent, that's probably a sorry. You know, a proper apology there over the mic. That's absolutely not intentional, and he's going to own that for sure.
That could have been a lot worse than it was, though.
And still on the racetrack, Calvin Baumler not yet pitting. Now, I'm all for alternate strategies. I'm all for fuel saving, hypermiling as they call it. I don't know that there's much benefit to this, but I'm here for it. Let's see how far he can go.
Returns the fastest lap of the race on 52.68. Brian Jones responds. These guys are clicking off on this, third run? Because we've already gone through 2 pit stop cycles. There goes Baumler into the pit lane. 19 seconds up on Nick Hom, who should be coming off of turn 4 here in just a moment. That's through turn number 3. So here is your second place car, effectively about to be your race leader here shortly.
Well, and Calvin went 31 laps, and that seems to be the extent of what these guys can do. Hom is completing 30 right now. I guess actually that is 31 complete. So this will be lap 32 now for him. Conover is not far back, but Hom, this would be the extent of where I'd expect him to go to. He may go an extra, though, based on the previous run. We'll have to wait and see.
But just look at how much time he's lost. You're going to see Conover right there, just coming off of turn number 2. When Hom made his first stop on the first green flag pit stop cycle, he was 21 seconds in front of Conover. Now, after a 30-lap green flag run before making his second stop, he is 2 seconds in front of Conover. That could be even shorter by the time that 88 car heads to the pit lane, and there he goes right now. So about 2.1 seconds was the gap coming through turn 4, and Hom is just going to lose even more track position here. I don't know how much this is going to benefit him overall. Unless we see maybe like a quick caution or something and he can gain some track position, I really feel like that 88 has just kind of made his bed overall for this race.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much to gain for the drivers that are going beyond, about 2 laps of insurance. That's what I was saying. If you're going to go long, do it early so you can play catch up if you need to. Because you have a point, Zach. They're not going to be gaining much by running this long every single run. In fact, they're just going to keep losing time. But if you do it once, just to have the insurance and kind of catch back up a little bit, I think that's a little bit less harmless. A little bit more harmless, a little bit less harmful. But as it stands, the 88, I'm not so sure about that strategy. Even the 81, Baumler is down in 14th as Hom gets back up to pace. And he'll, of course, be ahead of Christenberry, but that's about it. He is the final car on the racetrack on the lead lap. He's already 43 seconds behind the leader in a 53-second lap. Some racing, though. Look at this. Arthur, Sparks, and Norman. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th. The last-minute driver change in the 43 car, still kind of echoing around the garage. Sparks making the return back to the series a handful of weeks away. I think it's been since about May. So good to have him back with us. Oh, there you see. He is in the number 43, not the 5, as the graphics would suggest. So, earning points for a whole different car, as obviously the Hendrick group in this league had to kind of pick back up and keep things moving. They put Caden Henry Oaks. First it was Caden Perkins, I believe, in the 5. Then Caden Henry Oaks took that car over. Perkins slid back over to the 84. There was a whole lot of shuffling around, I believe it was right around Charlotte, where we had our most recent, the 5 race. And that brings me actually back to the 5, Zach. And that whole, I don't know if I should call it a tournament or in-season challenge, I suppose. Of course, it's built to mirror the Winston, more or less. Or not the Winston, the Noble 5. That's what I'm going for. The Winston was the All-Star race, go figure. But the Noble 5, it takes 5 drivers. It was Atlanta in the spring, actually, where Brian Jones got his first win of the season. The top 5 drivers there qualified into it at Talladega. Then from Talladega into Charlotte. Now from Charlotte into Indianapolis. And then the top 5 tonight. Whether they are in this challenge or not this evening, the top 5 drivers on the results page this evening get to go for it again at Bristol in August. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Doing it on a short track is going to be just a little bit chaotic, Zach, especially Bristol Motor Speedway.
I'm not looking forward to Bristol. Not in the slightest.
Not looking forward to it. Excuse
Look, okay,
you.
Hold on. Let me rephrase. I'm looking forward to it in the sense of short track racing. We love short track racing. But statistically speaking, Bristol is one of the more crashy type racetracks when it comes to boiling tempers and whatnot. We see it all the time. Most notably, we saw it with Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson somewhere involved in that one as well. Rusty Wallace and Jeff Gordon in 2002. We don't need to go over Brad Keselowski's driver interview in 2009, or even Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch getting into it notoriously on the cooldown lap after Carl Edwards' win at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it has the tendency to really bring out the more... Oh, geez, what's the word I'm looking for here? See, I don't want Andrew making any more fun of me of using bad grammar.
There is no fun being made, but I will say this is a nice run being put on by Josh Conover. He is back up to about 3 seconds clear of Brian Jones, and this again, just not at all what I was expecting today. I even joked with you again, just like last week, that he'd be 25th, just to see how wrong I could be, and here we are, just like last week at Pocono. He is leading a ton of laps. This is now more than a full fuel run. I mean, if we look at the laps led here on the ticker, it'll show 33 for Conover, 29 for Jones, 1 for Anderson, 1 for Arthur, and a couple others, I think, strewn about the field. But, boy, what a day for this 48 car already. There you see 3 for Baumler, 2 for Hom. This could be a very, very important race for this 48 if he's able to grab this win. Winless since Darlington back in, what, April? March? Something like that, way early in the season. Hasn't been back to victory lane. Of course, had to bail out of Atlanta that Brian Jones ended up winning, and I feel like since then, their paths have kind of been crossed and intertwined here and there. We even put them both on the Who You Got post today. And now it's the two of them, I think, being the strongest 2 cars last week and this week. Neither able to win last week. Conover ended up being the closest, as Jones was a little bit off on strategy. Tonight, it feels like there's certainly really no interference from the 3 or the 18 or the 24. It's up to these two to figure out who's going to win tonight.
I'm very tempted to say something that I shouldn't and place some sort of...
What does that mean?
Place some sort of stupid bet on Conover winning. Like I did when I said I'd give up $50 if Senior
That's
won.
a bad idea.
Yeah, no, right? No.
You've got a race car to go drive tomorrow. That's a bad idea. That's I'm gonna be the angel on your shoulder for you. That's a
Maybe
terrible
at
idea.
Talladega then.
I plead the fifth.
Great.
Well, things are shaking up,
Absolutely fantastic.
and we are into the latter portions of this race, actually, Zach. We're counting laps down now. A good ways past halfway.
Knock on wood, we haven't had a caution yet.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier, and I actually want to look at this graphic here. I mean, we've had 6 lead changes, 72 laps now complete. And sure, we've got plenty of time to go, honestly, in the session and in the race. 48 laps remaining, but this has been a very, very green flag race, obviously. If we've had no cautions, I'm impressed by the entire field. Then we don't have a deep field tonight like we did last week at Pocono. And sure, we had a few extra cautions a week ago, but a very, very good race in terms of quality of racing here tonight. Really, the only incident that we've had, right, has been Christenberry and Watrous.
We had a small incident right there with Malone and Arthur, but that fizzled out as quickly as it started.
I will say it's good to see these guys able to run in a line like this when our leaders are so spread out. They're still battling here in the midfield, and actually back here, Watrous has just been passed up by Calvin Baumler. This for the 13th spot. Watrous falling back a little bit. Caden Henry Oaks will be next up behind him. Let's remind you, Caden is up from starting in the pit lane, so the low of 23rd, of course not reflected in his started position, but lowest of 23rd. He has driven up to 15th, and it's all been green flag. No cautions to save him. And if you recall, kind of midway through the previous run, Zach, I mentioned he was only 19 seconds behind the leader. He's lost a little more time. He's still only 22 seconds behind the leader. So he's keeping very, very good tabs with the guys up front. If he were to have a run straight from, you know, a green flag with those guys, he's absolutely top 10, if not top 5 pace.
He's got some ground to make up. Just a little bit, that is. I think if a caution came out with the pace that he's showing, he could be running a little bit better, like you said already. But I don't know. As the laps continue to wind down, Andrew, we're starting to get to a point where I feel like these guys are solidifying their track position. Where if we don't see any sort of on-track incident, we don't see any sort of on-track mistake out of these guys, I think they're all just kind of solidifying where they're going to be and how they're going to finish off this race. I think this group right here that we've been focusing on for a little while now are the only ones that could relatively change up their track position, aside from maybe Brian Jones, Ryan Houston, and maybe even Cody Anderson a little bit further up the road. But this gaggle of cars, these guys have been trading spots all race long, so I wouldn't say that their spots are set in stone just yet.
There they go, past the pagoda on the front stretch. 75 complete, 45 to go. And this is easily the most interesting portion of the field, as you were kind of alluding to there. Hunter Sr. bringing up the caboose of this little group. He's in 10th spot. Ahead of him is Ronnie Norman. In the wall there is the 4, but just barely. Just kind of grazed it. No harm, no foul, as there you see the entire backstretch. And, you know, check back in on the 8 car, Brock Morris. Haven't talked much about him in the last, 70 laps. He's been slowly climbing his way forward. He's ahead now of the 40 of Watrous. He did just let the 81 go by, I believe, in Kevin Baumler, but in fact, yeah, you can see he was as high as 12th before letting the 81 go back by. So Brock is definitely kind of taking his time, getting used to the car and everything like that, but not a bad run at all.
Solid run. I think he's going to be a good fit for keeping that 8 car in the owner's points. I know that Brady Motes is not going to be able to continue that driver's championship fight with a sub-driver in that race car, but if Brock keeps up performances like this, he should keep that 8 car in a good spot owner's points wise. And currently, as it stands, the 8 car sits, let me take a look at the owner's points again, it sits 12th in the owner's points right now, right behind the 7 and the 32, just barely outside of what would be the chase for the owner's points. So taking a look at driver's points overall.
Well, Moats came in 12th, 6 points below the cut line.
Yeah, so he needs to finish in front of Ronnie Norman and Kyle Tubb, which at the moment, he is currently behind both of them. So he needs to pick it up just a tad to keep that car in good contention.
Which I will say is good to see for Tubb. He's actually the next one behind this group. There he is off of turn 2. Mentioned him earlier. He's been having some good runs lately. Tonight, not so good, but getting better as the night goes on. Chasing a top 10. He's 11th, but needs about 4 seconds to get up there to the 4-car of Senior. No change at the front of the field. Those guys very spread out, but 5th place, Malone is just ahead of these guys as this group runs down through the 10th spot. A lot yet to figure out in this race, but obviously a great start for those three leading the way as Ronnie Norman has some connection difficulties. That's been a theme too this evening. Guys having blinks on the grid, just trying to get through this race. Norman's had a handful. Not sure what happened to Dalton Tucker. He obviously couldn't maintain connection to the server. Big issues across the board for a number of drivers. This is, you know, I didn't want to call this a wild card race because it absolutely can be a race that just goes to the best driver of the season, but clearly it's not tonight. This has become a bit of a wild card race. Here we go, battle for 6th. It's an Arthur to the inside.
Side down to 1. That side force making it difficult to pass the inside, and Guileless hangs on up top.
$40 laps to go the next time by. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we got 40 laps to go next time by.
Great minds think alike. Yeah, we're definitely scooting on down to the end of this thing, and it's unfortunate that we don't get a chance to see how the strategy may have gone for Christenberry, but I can tell you he is due back on the pit lane here in a couple of laps. We could have a pit stop there for him, and then look at this little fight. Down to turn number 3. Watchers on the inside of Morris. This is going to help the 5-car out. As Watros goes back on the inside of another car into turn 3. This time it works out a little bit better for himself and for the other car on the outside. Oh. Smoke off of turn 4. And Guileless slow. Let's see what happened here as Senior grabs a piece of the concrete into turn 1. You're watching that number 28, metallic red.
And it misses the bottom right there, slides up. Nice and easy through the short shoot. Nothing major here. This is coming out of 4. I just ran a little high. Oh, wow. Big catch right there for the 28.
Absolutely creamed the outside wall. Had a great catch as he was very quickly pit road bound, and here's a look at that from our pit road camera. Whoa, that's not ideal. Could we call that, Zach, our very first of the evening?
I think so. Mostly because I don't know if we're going to see anything that comes remotely close to it otherwise, but this is onboard live feed with the 4-car, or no, not with the 4-car, the 28. Oh my goodness, where am I looking?
Battles ahead, by the way. Jacob Malone gets passed up by the 24 of Vincent Arthur, and the wall is the 18. Big contact from Malone. Sparks gets by on the inside. He will clear the 18 car, and look at this. Old teammates working together. Arthur moves up, Sparks moves up, and Malone moves down.
Looking to the outside now. Sparks going around the 24, or at least trying to. Gets back to single file, and Vincent Arthur snakes down the back straightaway. Tries to break the toe that Sparks may have, but I think it's just going to draw him alongside. No. Still stays clear of the 43 car. And down into turn number 3, hangs on to it.
Pit stop's not far away from these guys. If any of these guys are short on fuel, maybe pit now, get out of this pack. Obviously, though, you're aiming for lap 90 or 91 if you can. Here's a run from Arthur back on the inside. Sparks trying to get him into turn 1, and he is there on the inside of Arthur into the first corner.
Side by side, pushes up the track a little bit, gets really tight underneath the 24 car, but hangs on to it. Slots back in line. And it gets really loose off of turn 2, sideways. Digs off the corner, but keeps it rolling. And now, Andrew, I think this is the best time to say it. This is, and it's not even close still, the closest fight on track that we've had for the 5. There's nothing separating Cody Anderson and Vincent Arthur except about 7 seconds.
9 seconds, more like it.
9.
Yeah, we technically do have our closest moment so far in that mid-season battle. Worth watching as the laps wind down. You see drivers in the background. Kyle Tubb here in 11th. Kevin Baumler starting to reel him in. Behind this, Brock Morris is up to 13th. He's got Watrous and Henry Oaks just behind. So 13th, 14th, 15th. Not that far back of this group that's back onto the back straightaway, and still hard to say exactly what's going to happen here. Malone, we kind of generally think of him as a front runner now, and he's starting to look like he is made of Swiss cheese as these laps go on. Just starts to keep falling further and further back, and as these runs go on, it seems like he's got less and less pace. On the wall.
Well, we talked about how Malone is a bit of a road course bringer, and we've got one more road course up on the docket for the season, that being Watkins Glen.
Next week. You see, though, contact behind, Guileless and Senior. Senior in the wall. No crash, thankfully. Could we have a caution-free race here, Indianapolis? We just might.
That actually just hit me, Andrew. When was, if ever it has happened, the last caution-free race in a NORA race?
I want to say we've had 1 or 2 already this season, but I'll do a little bit of research and see if I can track down the specifics.
Hey, Josh Conover has enough of his lead. He can text us from in the car and let us know when the last time there was a caution-free race. You can give him a couple of tens trying to send a text message.
Don't recommend that. We have had cautions. Well, of course, Montreal will be the last caution-free race, but that doesn't count. It's a road course. And that's just a little bit different as Donald Kite is down the pit lane. This is big for a driver trying to make the chase. This is just going to bury him farther down the standings than he already was. It's been a night to forget for the 21 car. And this pit stop certainly not going to help him. This fight, can't leave it for long. Guileless trying to get ahead of the 4 car here. This is the battle for 9th. Pit stops just around the corner. They've got to be careful.
Side by side up off the corner. They just made a little bit of contact not too long ago. Single file back down into turn number 1. You know, Andrew, I'm noticing a lot more as the race goes on, but these guys are having a lot of trouble hitting that bottom. Look how much they're giving up. Look at Norman here. Gives up a little bit on the bottom, and that's going to allow the Forest Senior to sneak in there on the quarter panel, catch a side draft, and maybe take a spot here.
Chase Durham, by the way, joining the conversation on the lack of cautions in some of these races. Excluding Montreal, We have not yet had one this season. Senior in orbit, he checks up. He'll give that spot up. No pit stops yet this lap, just that one from Kite a couple of laps ago. By the way, Christenberry's already been in and out of the pit lane for his stop. Granted, he's off cycle and 8 laps down, and Kite actually has dropped out of the race. Donald is done.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Thinking about points here.
I mean, that about erases him out of the chase.
Well, that's going to help the 33 keeping his advantage.
Yeah, the 5 is down to 3. It's down to Anderson, Arthur, and Senior. That's going to have shakeups in owners' points, going to have shakeups in drivers' points. And look at this. Brian Jones, from being good by a lap or so earlier, is short maybe this time. Or, Zach, is this a play at an undercut? He was locking up there at the line as there's Arthur, Sparks, Malone, and more.
It's a gaggle of cars.
Oh, nearly contact way back there, but this seems to be an undercut from Jones as Caden Henry Oaks is in, squealing, locking up the brakes into the pit lane. Everybody coming on in.
If you're Conover, you have to respond this lap. There is no question about it, because Brian Jones, the longer you stay out there, the more he's going to close in on you. So respond this lap, pit in. Do not let that 45 car get any sort of an advantage over you.
16.1.
In the window.
Slow stop there
and
for
Conover
Jones.
does.
Slow stop though for Jones. There's Housden pitting behind. Oh, wobbly on the brakes. What's the pit time going to be for Conover as everybody's leaving the pit lane up the road? Here comes Norman in the background. Anderson, by the way, has kept digging. He has gone a little bit farther.
George right there in front of Conover.
How long is the stop going to be for Conover? The stop for Jones is 16.1. It was a bit long, but he's going to have good tires now. What's it going to be for Josh Conover? Typically, you're aiming for about 14 to 15 seconds. For Conover, it's a little bit quicker, 15.93. He will exit the pit lane here.
Where's
Jones?
Brian Jones?
There's Christenberry, so Jones should be shortly behind.
No.
I don't see him. He's barely into turn 1 now. So a slow exit back onto the racetrack maybe for Jones.
And Houston might beat him here. Well, maybe not. Looks like Brian Jones is going to get him on pit exit.
And let's not forget, Conover had a big lead going into that cycle. We were just hopeful that maybe Jones could pull a strategy. It's not going to happen. Still a 4 to 5 second gap between he and Conover, and that's just not going to get made up quickly. Cody Anderson, by the way, in the pit lane. He is taking service finally. Nick Hom has gone a little bit longer, but Baumler has already been in and out. He is back with those guys that we just saw battling around the back end of the top 10. There's Anderson down and away. Conover's already passed him. Arthur about 7 seconds back of Anderson currently. Let's see, there goes Housden. Next up would be Hom, who has not yet pitted. So Anderson is going to be well clear still of 24. No worries there. He had, what, 9 seconds going into it?
Just about. Looks like Anderson's going to count still 5 seconds in front. There you see Vincent Arthur coming off of turn number 2.
It is closer. It's down to 4 seconds.
Just about. We might actually have a race for the 5.
It'll be interesting.
Right there. 88 car still has yet to pit, and we talked about it, Andrew. Nick has just continued to lose more and more time. He was well in front of the leaders on his cycle. Then he was a little bit in front of the leaders. Now he's quite a ways behind, about 9.5 seconds behind Conover. There's Brock Morris coming out of the pit lane. He's going to end up going a lap down here as well to the 48 at Conover, which is interesting because that 8 car was a lot further up.
Well, there you see. Look at the lane.
No box time either.
Right. He had a penalty.
Oh.
So a penalty there for the 8 car. And that's going to bury him in this field, 19th now. It's still owner's points. It's still positions on the racetrack, but Definitely not how that evening was planned to go for the 8 car, and boy, I mean, do we even have a contest for the win? Brian Jones 4 seconds back, Housden then behind him. There's still some time for anything to happen, but if you're Brian Jones, you're a big fan of all of these guys to get racing very soon. This is Senior, this is Norman, Baumler, Guileless, Tubb, and even Watchers towards the tail end of it. He's a little bit farther back than Scavnicki and Henry Oaks. But if you're Brian Jones, if you're Ryan Housden, you need these guys to get to racing if you want to win. If you want to just take the top 3, take the points, and move on, that's fine too. You want these guys to keep it clean. But if you want that win, you are the biggest fan of maybe a Kevin Baumler or a Nick Guileless to get up there and race the 7 or the 4. Mix things up, maybe try and get a caution out of it.
This race is still ever changing.
And Zach, we have word from Donald Kite as to why he has parked the car. I will let you view it in YouTube chat if you so please. It's one of the... Well, that's a first for me, honestly, as far as the reason for why a driver has parked it, but here we go. A pass from Arthur and Sparks to get by the 88 of Hom, who has yet to hit the pit lane, and he could use a yellow right here, Zach. Boy, if we got a caution now, he could be up in the top 5 nearly. Top 10 at the very least.
You wouldn't be wrong there. The track position would work in his favor, but I don't know. That would be tough for him to rebound from. Everyone would have to pit, which, I mean, we're enough laps into the run that everyone would probably pit for tires just to stay on a level playing field, but there's not much time left in this race. Look at Vincent Arthur snaking down the front straightaway, trying to break the toe on Wayne Sparks. Those two fighting a little harder than anybody else on the racetrack at the moment. And, you know, we just keep rolling through this race, Andrew. Not to knock on wood or anything, but we've been green for about an hour and a half so far. And at this rate, with them turning 53 second lap times with about 25 laps to go, I don't know, we're looking at about another 20 minutes of racing still to go for these guys. I feel like that's going to set a record for us, because usually, even with a bit of a shorter distance race, with it not being a crown jewel event, these races tend to take anywhere between 2 to 2.5 hours.
And Conover, you know, midweek was talking about this race and its length and how this race typically goes a bit quicker than Pocono anyways per lap. And sure enough, these guys are moving a little bit faster. The lap times are in the same ballpark, maybe a second or so quicker. So that's certainly adding up over the course of 120, but this is a longer race proportionally to the rest of the calendar, because Pocono back at 05 was 500 miles. So that cut down to the 300 miles we had last week. I mean, that's 60% versus this being 75% length, right? So this race a little bit longer proportionally, but it's the same length as the race last week at Pocono, still 300 miles, 120 laps. I bet you Conover wouldn't mind if it had been the previously scheduled 96 laps. We would have been over a lap ago. But does this, I mean, does this shake it up at all, going a little bit longer? Should this race be full length even at 160?
No.
I mean, it's going quick. It really is. And sure, we could absolutely, especially as we near the COT days in this league, we could absolutely have less quick races here. I also proposed the idea to some drivers earlier today in the Gridwalk Discord chat. Do we see this series pivot over to IRP versus Indianapolis? And that is me absolutely stirring the pot, grabbing the spoon and everything, even doing little side to side.
A week or two ago?
No, not quite. But I mean, if drivers are unhappy with the way Indianapolis is racing, IRP is right there.
There's always the road course.
Yeah, you're not going to win any votes with that. Me, maybe. I'd be okay with that, but the drivers would not, as, here we go, battle between Tubb and Guileless. I will say, much to Nick Guileless' credit here today, I joked with him earlier about him having some not so good races lately, having some crashes and such. He has put a good one together here in this 28 car. He is down to 12th, and he's slowly losing more spots as the day goes on, but a clean day in that number 28. Haven't seen much contact from him, and I would have to imagine, yeah, incidents, there's... I don't know how, Zach, but there is one incident each for Arthur and for Sparks. One incident for Morris. Again, I don't know how. The 3 for Christenberry. So the wall contact, and then they got an off track somewhere. And then everybody else in this race is incident free. This could be the lowest incident count broadcasted race we've ever done. We're looking at 6 incidents across 23 drivers. 120 laps. Well, 100 so far.
I feel like that's going to be a record for Pit Stop TV.
I do genuinely think this could be up there for the lowest incident count in a race that we have ever broadcast. And we're talking, I mean, at this volume, we've been broadcasting like this since the pandemic, since, you know, late 2019, early 2020. As here we go, there's a battle off of the corner. Hom goes into the grass. Oh, is that going to be an incident for the 88? Yes, it is. We have just hit 7 incidents as a field. What's a big move? I don't know why he did that. What's a big move on Anderson? No, he went off in the grass.
Oh.
He pulled so far low of Anderson off of turn 2 that he hit the grass down there. And I'd imagine that's how a lot of these guys have their 1Xs. But let's take a look back at this. Again, I really don't know why he's doing all of this. He's a lap down. But, hey, when you haven't really battled anybody for 100 laps, you need something to spice things up, I suppose.
That you do.
He has driven away a little bit from that 33 car. The problem for the 33 of Anderson is that might hold him up slightly and allow Arthur to make some time up. Now, we do anticipate all these guys to have their pit stops made for the race. We don't anticipate any more green flag pit stops unless it's somebody being short on fuel, and really the only body in that conversation is going to be maybe Brian Jones. I don't think so. And then Jake Christenberry, just because he's off sequence from the time he spent in the garage. Everybody else should be good. Most importantly, this guy. But then you've got the 2 that are trying to chase him down and not doing any, very good job of it. We're inside of 20 to go, and the gap keeps expanding. 6 seconds now from Jones and Housden up to Conover. But Zach, we suddenly got ourselves a fight for second.
Take another look at Brian Jones. Earlier it was for the lead. Now it's for second. A little bit of ways back is Cody Anderson. He's not really going to be involved in this fight whatsoever unless these 2 really start getting side by side. Also just got to find a way to keep the clean air on the nose like we talked about early on. It's rinse and repeat right now. Got to find a way to keep the clean air on the nose and get the runs going into the corner and down the straightaways. And again, there's really not much that can be done at that point.
16 laps to go this time by for these drivers. Ryan Housden just still kind of playing with his food, seeing if he can get up to the 45 and past him. I will say the 45 has been his kryptonite this evening. He has not been able to pass him, I think, at all. But we'll give it some time. Still 16 to go. And in the conversation for the 5, obviously we've been talking about Anderson and his battle, his gap to the 24 car. He hangs on to it for now. It has come down slightly inside of 5 seconds, but not by a whole lot. In fact, there it's back up over 5. So I don't think too much of a concern really at all for Cody at the moment. There you see the gap from Arthur up. By the way, pretty confident that dot ahead, yeah, that dot ahead of the 24 is not even Anderson. It's the next dot up the road. There's the 33. So Arthur doesn't really have a rabbit to chase currently, and that's certainly going to impact him as well, as there is your race leader. 15 to go, the last time by the stripe. And Zach, this guy has been in control since the first round of pit stops.
It's just on lock. Every time I tell him that I'm going to pick him for the race win, somehow he seems to respond. This is weird.
It's a little strange, admittedly.
A little?
He has been looking really good lately, though. He's been putting solid races together. Again, last week at Pocono, maybe should have won the race, but didn't quite play things right. Ended up behind the 8 ball a little bit, or I guess really behind the 3 ball, truthfully. But as these laps wind down, unless we get a caution, there's no way anybody's touching him. It would have to be a caution or something very, very large happening. Even ahead here of Conover, I don't see anybody up the road. Yeah, it's empty track until Conover gets here to put us another lap complete. Well, Zach, I suppose now's as good a time as any to go ahead and go through, you guessed it, the North American Racing League Driver of the Day nominations. I suppose the first is going to be relatively easy for you, right?
I'm taking Conover. He seems to have responded well to the pressure. I guess pressure makes diamonds. Well, they haven't met Josh Conover, apparently. So he's moving in the right direction to keep himself in contention overall in the points this year. And looking to lock down another win as well.
And look at the laps led. I mean, a nice amount of laps led. He's working on, I think at the end of the race, it'll be 81? Maybe? 80, yeah, 81, I think.
I think he's going to poke more fun at you if he wins this race than he will at me, because Josh was making a big storm, I'll say, about where he was sitting in the power rankings. I'm sure that will change.
Oh, this
out of Indianapolis.
Yeah, this will change some things. We're trying to bring more stats into that, by the way. It's just it's a challenge to keep the stats updated with that kind of thing. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but yeah, Conover. He's making a fool out of me. Who you got for pick number 2, though, for driver of the day?
Pick number 2, I think I'm going to go with Cody Anderson. He's done a fantastic job of keeping that car in contention for owner's points. He is currently in a position that he will pass up a lot of the drivers that he is looking to be in those owner points. He has to finish in front of the 8, the 32, and the 7 to keep himself in contention for some chase points. And right now, Andrew, he is sitting in front of everybody that he needs to and doing a fantastic job in terms of owner points. Now, the only other driver that he's really should be concerned with at the moment is the 8 car, Brock Morris, who's subbing for Brady Motes, as we talked about. But at this point, there's nothing left to say. This 33 car is looking to put himself in chase contention for the owner points, and he's doing a fantastic job on the racetrack now.
Boy, if you're going to take a layup like that, but not take Jones or Housden, I mean, you know me, I've got to look around. Like, I've got to find some diamonds in the rough, find some guys.
Man, I try to leave you the good picks, the ones that I know that you want to take, and I figured you'd take them. I honestly picked Conover to win because I told him if he loses the race, I'm taking his ride. Like, what else can you say?
Well, I'm going to move around. There are two drivers on this timing tower on your screen that have the same number graphic next to them. Because one used to drive the car and one now drives it. And they are going to be my two driver of the day nominations. One of them easily, Wayne Sparks. Comes back out of a sabbatical more or less, and here he is, nearly top 5, up 18 spots from the grid. And I mean, sure, that number is slightly inflated because of a couple of cars that didn't race and Tucker effectively not being on the grid, but even if you put him at 21st or 22nd, that's still a large number of spots to have gained with no caution to aid him. So Wayne Sparks, in my opinion, has to go on this list. He will, of course, go under the 43, not the 5. It'll be the 5, though, of Caden Henry Oaks, just for the fact that he, again, unaided by a caution, has passed as many cars as he possibly could. And I hate to pass up the guys running second and third, but you know what? They were all together at the beginning, and they didn't have the X factor at the beginning, whether it was the first run or the caution, or not the caution, but the pit stops to get ahead. So I'm going to move on down the list. We could just nominate the top 4, but what fun would that be? Plus, I have to anger some people in the YouTube comments for engagements, right?
I guess so.
Oh, here we go. Maybe a spot for Caden here to turn 3. That vote now live over on YouTube, by the way. As Caden Henry Oaks will go to the inside of John Skavnicki here. And hey, Zach, we could still get a caution. This race is not yet over.
We haven't seen a caution so far this race.
Ronnie Norman having some more blinks as he runs in the 9th spot. Keep an eye on that as the laps wind down, but this little fight still rather intriguing between the 38 and the 5. Then you have Baumler, Tubb, and Geilis. Baumler continuing to move back through the field, and he would have been a great choice for driver of the day as well. He continues to make spots back up. Yeah, he started top 5 though, and that I think is a big stain, but he has dropped as low as 15th, and maybe played the strategy wrong, that's fair, but has also been driving back through bits of the field to get spots back, and you know, those passes mean something, at least to me, and I'm sure to others. To be able to pass drivers in Indianapolis in a stock car like this, that takes some serious skill.
That it does. Keep in mind that top 10 is still under pressure. Someone who's not under pressure, though, is Josh Conover.
And he's typing in the backstretch. He just sent us a message in our private chat with Brady.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? He can type. He can type. He can give up a couple of tenths. And they're fighting for second, too, so he's gaining time.
Unbelievable. He's typing again. He's typing on the other monitor. Not only is he texting while driving, Zach.
He's typing on his computer!
Yes, he's doing it on the keyboard on another monitor. And look who's closing into these two. Cody Anderson is running these two down. I don't know that he gets there before the end of the race, Zach, but he is in the neighborhood with Christenberry and Hom in between. Conover now saying, yes, I'll get off the phone now. Well, look at the 33 back there. This is going to be interesting, these final 5 or so laps. Can Anderson make up enough time? He doesn't need to. He's not racing for driver points, but boy, it would be a lot of fun to see him get up there ahead of these guys. He's already more or less locked into getting the $50 for the 5 bonus tonight. But he would like to get a podium you know, position and talk to us as well. That would be huge for him.
Lord of mercy.
5 to go. On board with Cody Anderson, you see a couple of lapped cars ahead, and that's going to hinder him as well, Zach. You know, just having those lapped cars ahead of him, taking the air off his nose in the corners, that obviously is going to be a pain for him. And let's think back as well to Hom making that move in the backstretch so many laps ago to get by the 33 and the 11 for that matter. Had that not happened, could Anderson be higher up?
He could. I think so. That 33 car has shown the speed to be able to compete.
I'm not trying to give Cody any more ammo to be upset with, but it's worth thinking about. Four laps to go.
4 laps to go. Thinking on the same.
Yeah, it
wavelength
was 40, then it was 4. And there you see your race leader. He is cooling it down a little bit. Jones is starting to get back away from Housden ever so slightly. It's drops in the bucket, but I wonder, Zach, you know, is Josh looking down at the fuel gauge, or I guess up at the fuel calculator, I should say, and thinking, maybe I should back it down and just save a little bit, make sure I'm good for sure, you know. He also, does he want to make sure he's got enough for burnouts?
He should. He should definitely have enough left in the tank for burnouts.
3 laps to go, this time by. There's the leader. There's the 8 and 18th. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Second, third.
There it is.
Lapper, 4th. Wait.
4th.
Wait for it.
Still waiting. Still waiting.
And 5th.
5th.
6th. Wait for it. 7th. 8th. 9th. And I promise I'll stop at 10th.
There it is. Popsicle sticks in the air this time by for Conover, though. You know, Andrew, it's kind of poetic because Jimmy Johnson was one of the drivers that dominated at the Brickyard. The only other driver to dominate as much, if not a little bit more, was Jeff Gordon in the 24. They were trading wins at this track for quite a while.
Who won this race in 05?
Jimmy Johnson.
No.
Wait. It was Jeff Gordon.
No.
No, it wasn't. It was.
You're at the wrong organization entirely. Leave Concord.
Hold on.
Go up 77 and take a stop in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Joe Gibbs Racing?
Yeah, Tony Stewart. This was the race that kind of propelled him to that championship, his second of 3, and made the fence climb so popular.
Yes, but Jimmy Johnson had more wins at the track. And Jeff Gordon had more wins than Jimmy Johnson at this track. They were trading wins at this track like they were trading wins at Martinsville. I mean, they were pretty dominant when it came to this facility. And now Conover is going to solidify this race by taking the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. No cautions, Andrew, and we will stay that way. No yellow flags have been presented. Only green, white, and soon to be checkered.
It's the final time around for Josh Conover. We'll keep watching the guys in the background, but for now, no contest for this number 48. And you're not wrong, Jimmy Johnson did win a few. In fact, he won in 06, 08, 09, again in 12. 4 times to the 48 win at the Brickyard. All Josh Conover needs, though, is this one time. You can see nobody anywhere near the driver out of Ewing, New Jersey. And off of turn number 4, there's no Ewing here. It is Josh Conover kissing the brakes at Indianapolis. Jones, Housden, that's your podium. Anderson will win the 5. He'll get 50 bucks this evening. Off of turn 4, wait for it. Here comes Malone. Here comes Senior, Norman. 7th, 8th, and 9th No change at the stripe, but certainly a run there from the 4 car. Then look at this run. Baumler, Guileless, Watrous, not much changing. Henry Oakes comes in the background. And the final car to finish the race tonight is going to be that 25, trailing the number 20 that went to victory lane here in 2005. It's 16th place, though, for Jacob Gladulich here tonight. And now the question becomes, does Josh have enough fuel to burn it down?
I'm sure he does, as Christenberry comes up and gives him a little love tap.
Conover finally adds to the win column. First time since Darlington so much earlier this year that he's putting another tally in that category, and he's going to bring it down. You see Hom going across the stripe. He's going to go for an extra lap, it looks like, but there's the whole field into the pit lane as there's the number 48 of Conover going to burn it down.
He had enough in the tank. How about that? Conover with the win.
A win very well deserved by the guy who puts in all the muscle, the brains, and everything else into this series to make it all possible every Monday evening. I've been trying to get us on a broadcast of his series for a couple of years, finally managed to do it back at Daytona to start the season off, and now he's burning down for the second time this season. I would argue, Zach, I know it wasn't the Southern 500 equivalent race, it was the spring race at Darlington when he got the win earlier this year, as that's just a whole bunch of pagoda. But if you can't win Daytona or Charlotte, I think the next two best are certainly Darlington and Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
That car is sputtering.
All I know is that I'm going to rub it in his face that he can't win unless I pick him to win.
That car is sputtering back to life as he tries to get it back around to Gasoline Alley, perhaps. You see pit lane emptying out, drivers disconnecting. And that's all she's got in terms of fuel, I think, in the 48 car. So Conover will take it back and park it this evening as Gladulich does some burnouts in the pit lane. But we all know who won. It was the 48. We'll take a look back at your unofficial race results here in just a moment. A great run, though, by the 48 car, and I'm surprised, actually, he doesn't have more votes for driver of the day. I think there is some recognition, though, admittedly, of the run that Wayne Sparks put on. Let's take a look at those unofficial race results here, Zach. Obviously, the 48 on top, but down in second, Brian Jones. Third, Ryan Housden. We'll be talking to each of those drivers here in just a handful of moments. Vincent Arthur, nothing for Cody Anderson. That's what happens in a race with no cautions, no chance to catch back up. Anderson hangs out of that track position, and that's why qualifying is important, kids. You see Wayne Sparks in 6th, Jacob Malone 7th. On down through Hunter Sr., Ronnie Norman, and Kevin Baumler. And your 5 drivers, by the way, that'll be in the 5 at Bristol. How about Josh Conover, Brian Jones, Ryan Housden, Cody Anderson, and Vincent Arthur? That is a very interesting crop.
That it is, and rolling outside of the top 10, Guileless ends up 11th with Watrous in that 12th position. Tubb 13th, Caden Henry Oakes ends up 14th with Scavnicki in the 15th position. Jacob Gladulich hangs on for a 16th place finish with Matthew George in that 17th spot. And then the cars that finish laps down, you've got Brock Morris, who's the first car 1 lap down the 18th spot. Nick Hom in the 19th position, 1 lap down. And then Jake Christenberry after that contact, he ends up 9 laps down in the 20th place position. Not too many cars following the 20th place finisher of Christenberry. That would be Donald Kite, one of the 5 drivers who ended up parking it for the night, with Ross Lineback in the 22nd position. Dalton Tucker never saw the green flag, Andrew. He had too many issues that plagued him. He tried to get that car on the racetrack, but was unable to, with Kyle Rochelle and Caden Perkins also not even seeing the green flag.
Yeah, sounds like there was a session issue for Rochelle, creating the difficulty for him getting into the session. Looking back, by the way, at the Bristol results, since this race will play into the Bristol race as far as the 5 goes, and look, Conover didn't win that one, but he did lead 32 laps, and possibly could have. He finished top 10. I'm just saying, these guys might have a summer full of Conover here coming up very, very soon. It was Kleba who won that race over Norman, Blackwell, Jones, and Rochelle, but close behind were Brady Motes and Josh Conover in 6th and 7th. And of course, we'll talk to our top 3 here, beginning with Josh Conover, who, boy, it's when you win, not only do you prove Zach Murtis right, but you win big. 63 laps led at Darlington back in April, 82 here this evening in both races. Brian Jones also led a whole bunch of laps. It seems like you two are intertwined, but tonight the separation was clear. Nobody was touching the 48 car once you got to the race lead. How important was that first stop?
It was huge. It's funny, I was just talking to Housden. He apparently couldn't make it to 30 or 31. I was going to short pit to try and pass them guys, and obviously I ended up following him in. I guess he slid through a box, he said. But yeah, the clean air was obviously huge. I didn't even obviously know how it was until I got it. And then I truly expected them to run me back down, but it was insane. I even made a comment to Brian. I was like, man, I feel like this is the old truck series for NORA. Like, it was always him and I up front battling. And luckily tonight I was ahead of him for once.
And of course, this is a huge boost for you as we near the chase. This is race 21, 26 races in the regular season, so just 5 remaining. How many more can you click off? I was just looking back at Bristol results from the spring, and you were pretty solid there too.
It's tough. I mean, really, most people that are kind of in my spot in points would kind of just say consistency is going to be king. Obviously, next week we're back at Watkins Glen, so I'm sure we all kind of know who's going to be the favorite there at least. But I don't know, maybe because it's a road course we all know more, we can give them something to contend with. But yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know what's after Watkins Glen, funny enough. But
Michigan, then Bristol, then I believe California and Richmond, and then the Chase.
Okay, so I think Michigan I wrecked 'cause that was my first race on my new wheel. So definitely don't have a big notebook there, because actually that's when I joined you in the booth for the back half.
Yeah. That's also
Bristol.
a race that Brian Jones went and won.
Yeah, he's tough there. It's I don't wish bad luck on anybody, but he's so good at Bristol. When I saw he was hanging in second, I was like, man, it's gonna be nice, getting into one of these 5 races to potentially win some money. But I wish Brian wasn't in it for Bristol, because I can never beat him there, and he's always up front. So that'll be fun. Auto Club I throughput, and I think that race pretty much went caution free, or at least I was never in a position to get my lap back. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and then I guess at that point we'll just look forward to the chase. I mean, it's going to be tough. Hunter's consistent. I think his worst finish is like an 8th or a 9th, it seems like, anymore. And Dalton finally had a bad night, but that was pretty much just connection. It wasn't even anything that he did wrong. So we'll see.
And you touched on it, the 5. This now puts you in for the next round, which is at Bristol. So obviously that then plays into Martinsville later this season. A couple of very important races on the way to potentially this championship. Is there, I asked Cody a similar question earlier, is there any focus specifically on that race? Since you're well and good into the chase at this point, is there focus specifically on that one to get the extra cash and the bragging rights too?
A little bit. It's funny, Cody actually had him up with us tonight because he was a lone wolf, and him and Vinny were making jokes. Like, Vinny was asking him to slow down so that he could race for the money, and it's nice. I appreciate Wayne for helping us out with that. I never would have thought to even do something like this. So the fact that we have it, and even the average finish portion, where I think before tonight we still had like 23 guys eligible for it, is amazing. And to finally actually be able to qualify for one, even if, like I said, Brian is probably going to be the favorite, or even Housden or Vinny at that rate too. It's nice to be able to compete for that.
Yeah, I don't know that it's as easy to turn down the $50 right now. I mean, that's potentially not quite a fuel tank, but take a fuel for your car. But I mean, that's most of it right now. So I can't blame Cody there. But hopefully we'll talk to him in a moment. Regardless, Josh, Congratulations. I guess don't drop out of any more races, and we shouldn't see the 45 in victory lane, but it kind of feels like you two are intertwined. Dropped out of Atlanta, he won. You dropped out of Michigan, he won. You get a fire back at him here tonight.
Yeah, like I said, he's been with us for maybe 5-6 years at this point, and we always seem to be eventually in these races we find each other, whether it's for 5 laps or 50 or the whole night like tonight. So can always count on Brian to give me a run for my money. But just shout out to Brantley at Harpoon Design. He came on to help us out, and you and Zach for everything you guys do. I love watching these and the pre-race show, everything. It's just amazing to go back and watch, and obviously when you can sneak a win in here and there, it makes it even that much more special.
Well, you'll love watching this one back even more. Congratulations, Josh. Hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Appreciate it. Oh, Zach, you got to pick me more, Brady said.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I guess
we can't.
It just means I'm his good luck charm. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Puddin'.
Oh, boy.
No
Well,
problem, Pookie.
oh, well, Josh Conover has been forcefully removed from the broadcast booth. Ryan Housden is the next driver that finished up front that we can talk to. We don't see Brian Jones in the Discord this evening. He may have had to run early. So we'll move on down to Ryan Housden. And Zach, in that case, here is your third place finisher.
Yeah, Ryan Housden, who we thought was honestly going to be the second place finisher for a while, was running out front, having a great stint at the start of the race. But after the first cycle of pit stops, everything just kind of fell into place. You saw the two guys that were in front of you and behind you swap positions. You held in that second spot, and then you kind of fell a little bit further back and ended up finishing third. What was the game plan there when it came to the pit strategy and just trying to hang on to that track position?
Oh, well, I didn't have much of a choice for pitch strategy because I went as far as I could every run. I think I was burning a lot more fuel than those guys with some heavier throttle input and stuff. But yeah, second run, because I pit short, I had to do a little bit of fuel saving with the way I was driving, so I lost some time. After that, it was just me and Brian were pretty close, but Josh was a bit faster than both of us. So I might have had a shot at Brian, but it's really hard to pass there. Dirty Air was kind of giving me a hard time in that last run. I ended up burning my right front off, so I couldn't make a move. But I'm pretty happy with running third that whole race. It's a tough track. It's not one of my favorites, but track position was key, and I kind of figured something out. So all in all, I think it was pretty good. There wasn't much meat left on the bone for me there, I don't think.
And we talked about the dirty air and the clean air on the broadcast quite a bit. We saw a lot of you pinching your entries into the corners to hang on to whatever clean air you could get, and a lot of cars were just missing the bottom, which allowed any trailing cars to have a little bit more downforce, some clean air on that bottom line. Do you think pinching your entry, getting that clean air on the nose was beneficial to helping your race or keeping it in whatever standpoint it was as you went on through?
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of like what I figured out towards the end of practice. I was running my fastest laps by narrowing off the entry and trying to get it a little loose right at the white line. And that carried me through the first run, almost got me out front. After that, it was just the second run, trying to fuel save. I kind of messed up my rhythm and ended up burning the right front off, even though I was running easier. So it was a tough race. It was fun though, running with those guys up front. Cody behind me was keeping the pressure on to keep me honest for the podium. So it was a fun race. Definitely narrowing up that entry, trying to get some clean air on the nose was pretty key for at least being able to keep the right front on as long as I did.
Well, you did a fantastic job. Obviously, I know you wanted more. You wanted to see that car running up in the front, at least in front of the other two cars that stayed in front of you. So congratulations on that third place finish. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again as we roll in the next race. But some solid point stays for you rolling out of here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited for the Glen. I think I'll be able to at least keep it running close to the top 3 again. There's some good road course guys, but I'm feeling good about the Glen. I want to thank my mom and dad for watching, Uncle Joe, Aunt Tanya, whoever's watching back home. You know, it was a little bit of a slow one with no cautions, but I think races without cautions are the most fun to drive. So it might not be the best to broadcast, but I had a blast out there. So thanks, guys.
Absolutely, and that is Ryan Housden, the third place finisher on the day, Andrew. And I gotta say, I think out of how this race could have shaped up in any way, shape, or form, that it could have gone anyone's way out of the top three.
It came down to that first pit cycle. It truly did. Whoever got out the pit lane first right there and got some separation was gone, and that happened to be Josh Conover. Ryan Housen is very close, and we keep talking about the lopsided win column at DEI. I think we can say if anybody is going to start to even it back out, it's probably going to be Ryan Housden in that 15 car. Let's go ahead and grab our third interview, fourth place on the results page. But the winner, as far as the 5 goes, how's that wallet feeling now that it's got an extra bill in it?
A little heavier. It's awesome.
$50 for winning the 5. I'm not sure if it should be called a tournament, in-season challenge, what have you, Cody. But regardless, you've won, and you're back in it as well for the next round at Bristol. So, again, since you're not in the chase, do you start to focus on maybe Bristol a little more than the races in between?
Yeah, maybe. Now that I remember that I'm going to be in it. Yeah, I really like Bristol. Kind of got caught up in some wrecks last one there, but it's a fun track. You really got to manage your tires and stuff. So looking forward to that. I was asking Josh if they're going to have a money truck in front of me like the old No Bull, but I guess we'll have to try to get that next time.
And this, again, you're not really fighting for your own points too much. You just kind of here for owners' points, see how the season goes. But are there plans maybe to go full-time if you're able to kind of work everything out with every square that you need to, I guess, of life? Is there a plan to go full-time in 2027? Because I was even talking mid-race, maybe some team owners, including myself possibly, looking at you to fill a ride.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this year was kind of a trial year, just kind of see schedule-wise what I can make and stuff. And so far, besides the 2, been able to make a majority of them. So yeah, definitely. And Josh was nice enough to bring me over into the Hendrick track tonight, so that was kind of nice to have some people to talk to. And yeah, hopefully next year, if the Childress team can't fill it up, then hopefully I can get on a team and have some people to talk to and race with.
Definitely think the Ace Moneymaker line is going to be busy here soon for you. Cody, congratulations on a solid finish here, 4th place, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
I guess we'll be talking to him certainly at Bristol, Zach, to see if he can go back-to-back in the 5 races. But Cody Anderson, I mean, a great run. He had a few laps led tonight. His stock is going up, and we might even see him on the power rankings soon, going into Watkins Glen or anything else. I mean, this is a driver to watch out for, I think. Of course, not for the championship again, but certainly outside of that. This is a guy to watch and consider as a threat to win some races. And going forward, looking back at the schedule, Watkins Glen next, that's obviously going to be, road course, probably in the wheelhouse of Jacob Malone. From there, though, Michigan, Bristol, California, Richmond, big 2-miler, short track. Big 2-miler, short track. And then whatever you want to consider New Hampshire and Rockingham, each checking in at about a mile. And then we get into some proper chase territory. So still a very diverse set of races, but we're at least in a slight rhythm once we get to Michigan.
We are. And everything's just starting to take shape. We've got less and less races to go before we hit the chase, and ironically, less and less races to go before we hit the end of the season. It's all coming to a close soon, and I hate to see that it's coming to an end real soon, but we still got weeks and weeks left of racing, weeks and weeks of points battles left to go. It's just a shorter gap to the chase than it is to the end of the season.
And a lot to talk about as these weeks continue on, including tonight's driver of the day, and I don't think this is going to be any surprise. I'm glad we did get a good bit of votes in there for Wayne Sparks and Cody Anderson. None for Caden, unfortunately, but a bunch of votes for Josh Conover. He will win the North American Racing League Driver of the Day honors here this evening at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and very well deserved for sure in the number 48 car. 82 laps led tonight. That is just over 3/4 of this race, right? Or am I? No, just over 2/3. Just over 2/3 of the race. A solid day for sure, and hopefully we're seeing a little more of this out of the 48 car. It's definitely not been a Jimmy Johnson kind of season for him, so hopefully we see the 48 up front and winning a little more often as we get into the end of the season here. This certainly is a big one along the way. And Zach, boy, we have got a lot coming up for us here at Pit Stop TV. Look at this graphic. We are busy here at the back end of July, the back end of the summer, truthfully. We have got 2 Whiplash Racing League Legend Tour races, technically, this week. Really, you could say 4, but 2 race dates, because we are racing Wednesday, July 22nd at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kind of a pseudo-summer shootout thing, a little more practice for you, perhaps, and then we're taking them out to Langley Speedway with the Sarah Orsman Ford of Manassas National Tour. So, Legends at Charlotte, then Legends at Langley, followed by late model stocks at Langley. Getting back in the late model stocks versus the supers, that's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be the 3rd race of that season this summer. From here, they'll be heading to Oxford, Martinsville, and then Five Flags. Almost said Nashville, but Five Flags instead. And then, look at that, Saturday, we are headed up the mountain, Mount Washington, for the iRacing Hill Climb community. And of course, there's only one hill climb track on the surface, so it's going to be Mount Washington, but that's going to be fun. Going to be something a little bit different. It'll be a little bit of a different format of broadcast for us, but we're going to have a lot of fun, I think, on July 25th, this Saturday.
Oh, I am really looking forward to that Saturday show. We're going to have some real good fun with that one.
I'm excited. It's going to be, again, just something a little bit different, going to mix things up, and I'm intrigued to see how it's going to go. And it's in the Legacy MX-5 Cup car. Not only is it in that old Miata, it's also at night. So you see the headlights are on and it's a little bit darker. I had to brighten that up, that screenshot, to make it work on different graphics like this. It's going to be dark. There's obviously no track lighting. It's just the headlights and the mountain, and that's it. So I'm excited to see just how difficult that race ends up being. I say race, that challenge ends up being for those drivers. It's going to be one of the more unique things we've broadcasted, and Zach, we've taken NASCAR Gen 6 Cup cars to the Sonoma Rallycross course on this channel. So this,
I remember that.
Yeah, and hey, I'm not going to say anything too crazy, but maybe watch out for some more of that down the road. Regardless, this is going to be fun. I'm excited to see how we do at Mount Washington. The camera's there. I will say it's an undertaking to have them ready. We're kind of halfway on the camera build, but it's going to be a work of art, I think, as we get that worked on. And Zach, plenty of places to keep in touch with everything Pit Stop TV as we wrap up July here soon.
Absolutely. PitStopTV.com, Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV. You see a Discord link right there at the top, so you can join the Pit Stop TV Discord server. You can follow along with all the racing that we've got going on. And if you'd like to get involved in the action, you are more than welcome to join the Whiplash Racing Legend store, as well as some other things that we have in the works, potentially down the road in the near future. Plenty of places to see how that will unfold, as well as TikTok.com/PitStopTV1. Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and YouTube.com/PitStopTV1. So many great things upcoming here on the channel, so many great things to look forward to, and I am more than certainly here for it.
And a bit of what you're alluding to there, we've opened signups for a brand new league hitting Pit Stop TV in September. This will be the Whiplash Racing League National Series. We're talking NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars at all of your favorite NASCAR-style tracks, plus some extras. So if you are interested in that in any way, shape, or form, hit up our Discord, get involved. Plenty of ways to do so. Looking for advertising opportunities, looking for drivers. It's going to be a pretty stout roster, I think, once it gets all filled up and everything. And certainly I'm looking forward to our newest venture here behind the curtain at Pit Stop TV. Zach, any final closing thoughts here from Indianapolis?
I'm very much excited for Watkins Glen.
It's going to be a fun one, that's for sure. Watkins Glen, always an enjoyable time in any kind of car, let alone NASCAR stock cars. Going to be a lot of fun. Don't miss it. We're at Watkins Glen next week. Thanks so much for tuning in this evening. And a big thank you, of course, all of our partners. You see the ones coming across the screen now for NORA, of course, Harpoon Design, NORA itself, Sparks Builders, of course, with the cash at hand this evening, and Dark Star Garage and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Motor C Sports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. That's it for us from Indy. You see the pagoda there in the B-roll. That is it for us tonight. We will see you hopefully next time. Again, Watkins Glen next week, Charlotte this Wednesday. We've got Langley Thursday, Mount Washington Saturday, and then Sunday morning we come right back here to the Brickyard, by the way, with the All-American Racing Network. So a lot coming up. Do not miss it. We'll see you there. Zelazny might have a run here. He pulls up. 2 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. What a run this has been. 5 cars out front just dancing around for the lead. Salas back to the bottom. Honeycutt stuck up top. Slide job out of Salas. Crossover out of Honeycutt.
23 showing a big run here. He does.
You see Salas starting to cover it up. He goes up the racetrack. Honeycutt's clear of them both. He shoves it up in front of the 23, gets himself loose. It'll be white flag this time by. Salas down low. Zelazny looking for a hole. Side by side, 3 wide, Coffee in it. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Who is going to win the Luke's Playhouse 200? Honeycutt controlling the race. Coffee in second. Tires are aging. Zelazny off the top rope. Got a little bit free. He's going to crash with lights. And yes, wall there. Who knows? Honeycutt, though, leading the race. Can Coffee get a run? He's going to send it. He hits him. Big bump and run. Coffee's going to try and get away. Can Salas get there? Coffee's going to crash. Salas is going to crash. Watch Nick Lights here to the stripe. Salas is going to do it with no front bumper.
Unbelievable.
Wow. There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Yeah, can Rayleigh hold him off? He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth. Able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Antonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if he can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch. Deeper in the field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. And to turn number 9 for the final time. Lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on Peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows he can't give an opportunity to Kevin Cantonio. Cantonio's going to take it anyway. Ships it into the hairpin, and Rayleigh's going to get away. Thomas Rayleigh is going to be a race winner in the North American Racing League. A last lap bump and run wasn't enough. This man wins at Long Beach. Wow, what a finish coming through that hairpin. I thought they were all going to wad it up. We had lap traffic in there, staying in there.